It's EGI2 Stream 18 redo. We're doing it again live. We already, believe it or not, Allan, special EGI2 special correspondent Allan Resnick. We already have a hype train going.
Yay!
This does seem to be a great way to start the show. Allan is back. He's not sick anymore.
I'm okay.
I have not been sick. You're still a little sick?
I am still sick. I told you I was sick, but I'm here.
He's
Robbie,
Robbie, a hype train
is already at level 2 of the hype train. Robbie has already missed the first level of the hype train. He's going to tell an interesting story.
An interesting story, and then later we will be joined. EGI2 special producer James Trevor we are going to be joined by James Trevor's mother, who has just flown in from Montgomery, Alabama. And we will be discussing with her several issues what's the word?
Issues.
The things that we'll be discussing with her. We haven't talked about on EGI2 Stream 18 before. We had meant to talk about a number of these things on EGI2 Stream 18, but we didn't.
Robbie, tell the story. You have 4 more minutes to tell the story. You can tell the other stuff later.
Okay, I'll talk about the other stuff later, but I have a pretty good explanation of how this is different from the previous EGI2 Stream 18. But this is also EGI2 Stream 18, so don't forget it. If you have a little journal that has all these numbered from 1 to 18, you can underline it or put a little asterisk there to say that we did it twice, because it is kind of like doing it twice, Allan. And the story. And speaking of doing it twice, they say what is the thing they say about life, Allan? They say that you only live once, but it turns out that some people live twice. And so this is a story about somebody who lived twice.
Interesting.
Over the course of a very short period of time. And the first person that comes to mind when you talk about living twice in a very short period of time is the man is the big guy himself, the carpenter's son from Nazareth. But we will not. But that's not the subject of the story.
Thank you, Jovial Jellyfish, for gifting.
Thank you, Jovial
Jellyfish. Tier 1 subs.
And thank you, Allan, and for joining us and still being a little bit sick, but apparently not sick enough to not stay home and keep us from getting sick.
No,
potentially. So
duty calls.
Duty calls, and that's what his name was. The name of the boy. He was a little boy, and he lived in a big city. He lived in one of those big cities on hills that people used to live in. People don't live on hills as much as they used to. They live by hills. Sometimes there's a few houses on the hills, but back in the olden days, Allan, people lived on hills. I mean, they pitched their little huts and their yurts up on the hillside, and they cover the whole thing with settlements, and they built their own little steps to get up and down the hill. They didn't have roads back then. They didn't know how to get the wheels to quite work with the hills. A lot of that technology, ropes and pulleys and various levers hadn't been invented yet. So it was just people wearing very little clothing, living in tents and yurts
right
on
when Robbie
hills
said little
next
clothing,
to steps.
the hype train jumped from about 30% to 60%. So I like that. I think you should keep talking like that.
And in the common parlance of this time and this period of time, the boy was named Galvin. So if you think about Calvin, like Calvin and Hobbes, and Gavin, Gavin Newsom, it was Galvin. Which a name you don't hear about much anymore, but maybe after tonight you will.
Galvin.
And Galvin was what I would call a bit of a reckless youngster, and what he would do is he would spend most of his days running up and down the steps on the hill. It was one of those hills that's if you saw it today, you would look up on Wikipedia or look up on Yahoo Answers, and you would say, is that a mountain or a hill? And you'd say, how many feet does a mountain have? Or how many feet? What separates mountains from hills in terms of verticality, in terms of feet? And you would oftentimes think that they lived on a mountain, but it turned out to be a hill. It wasn't high enough to be a mountain. Is what I'm trying to say, Allan. Yet it was steep, and there was a steep grade with the steps. The steps were small. They were little narrow steps that people were smaller back then. But even for smaller people with tinier feet and legs, they were still even with tinier feet and legs, they were still quite small. So
Okay.
people's feet
We
didn't quite
30
fit on the
seconds.
steps.
30 seconds.
Thank
You're
you
about
so
to
much
do
for
it.
that.
You did it. We did it. Thank you so much, Game Quarter. You've hit level 3.
I've hit a level. We've hit a level few hype trains. So people are excited about the steps.
People are excited
Allan.
about the steps. Use your hype train emojis. Give bits. Give bites to Robbie, and let's hear the story. I think it's going to get quite good. It's about Galvin.
What Galvin would do is that this reckless son of a gun would just get up in the first thing in the morning and start running up and down the steps as fast as he could. And he would push old ladies to the side, and the old ladies would spill their beans, and they would all the beans would roll down the steps, and they'd trap other people in other precarious, slippery situations. And he was addicted to speed. You remember the old movie? They say, "I got a need for speed."
Speed, the movie Speed.
Exactly.
Speed 2.
So Galvin had a similar need that could only be met by running up and down the steps. I mean, and his legs, as a result of these morning rampages, I guess you could call them, was that his legs had grown to be extremely thick, muscular, veiny, if you almost goutish in appearance, but if you goutish, like so, if you saw Galvin with his goutish legs from far away, you would think those legs are filled with just clear liquid.
Interesting.
Because when people get really bad gout and you poke them with like a big needle, just this very clear liquid comes out. That's just the medical reality of people that have to deal with gout.
3 minutes
and
30 seconds.
But Galvin didn't have gout. He just had extremely muscular legs, and they had grown and developed in such a way that they almost looked like big barrels.
Wow.
So if you can imagine, the joints, the knees barely bent anymore. So he was just running up and down steps.
Thank you, Jovial Jellyfish, for gifting a tier 1 sub.
With taking wide steps because his knees couldn't bend, and his feet were basically swallowed up by his giant leg muscles from all the running up and down the steps that he would do every morning, well past the morning, almost into the lunchtime period.
Interesting.
But and also and this is where things get a little bit interesting, Allan. And I want to just point out that this is where we want to just remind everybody that we tell these stories because they have a lot of the times these stories must include aspects that we would kind of we might not find particularly family friendly, and so that's what we have to cross into that Rubicon. We have to cross that Rubicon right now because the muscles in Galvin's legs had not only grown over his feet, but also up. So, the leg muscles had basically, swollen to downward like a big elephant trunk.
Thank you, Joe Botnick. No, Robbie, I don't know what that means.
But they had also swollen up, they had covered the thing that young men oftentimes like to have access to the most. And I mean, obviously there's other things that they would want to have access to, but this is the one thing that they absolutely do have access to that they aren't able to.
We have 1 minute.
And if they aren't able to get to it, they start to go crazy.
Whoever gave, thank you. Whoever gave us the bits and bytes to make that happen. We've now hit level 4 of hype. This is a crazy story. Robbie's describing some weird sort of leg thing.
So it was a condition that he himself was responsible for it, and he was also, a lot of people said, well, it's a good thing that Galvin. They also sometimes called him Glavin, which I think it's Glavin or Galvin Glavin.
I call him Galvin.
Galvin Glavin.
Or Gavin.
We call him Double G. We call him Double G. Galvin Glavin. Galvin.
Double G. Gavin.
And people didn't like him because, again, he would get up in the morning and he would rampage up and down the steps, building these incredibly muscular legs that covered up. So the muscles were so swollen that they covered his feet, and they also covered his private parts that he would need if he was ever to give himself the gift that so many young men give themselves over the course of their lives.
Robbie, what is the gift that so many young men give themselves?
Well, Allan, it's a tough question to answer in a smooth we don't want to be explicit here, but a lot of times young men, when they are lying down on their when they're reclining. Relaxing. And sometimes when they're just sitting, and sometimes when they're standing, and oftentimes when they are running up and down steps will oftentimes be reminded that they have a...
I give myself a little gift of chocolate when I do good.
Well,
If I do a good job at EGI2, I go home, I eat a little nib of chocolate.
well, I just want to say that what young men oftentimes do, young men of a certain age, and let's just say between 15 and probably 25, many of them have an ability to give themselves a very serious gift that that could be used for very important population. If you're looking to up the replacement rate, obviously the replacement rate for modern societies is around 2.1 children for every couple. So the idea that
you have on replacement.
So if I'm just saying that if these boys, and they are even up to 25, I still think you can call them boys, could be putting things to use.
This is Robbie's really great replacement theory that he's sort of explaining right now.
This is just talking about birth rates in modern society. Obviously, back in the days of Galvin, there were people were more inclined to, because they didn't have ways to stop the gift from getting to its final destination.
2-minute warning.
And
2-minute warning. You only have 11% of hype. That's not a lot of hype. So that's why the story, I think, should now advance to getting a little more explicit about the gift that boys give themselves.
So the gift and the gift that not only may some boys give themselves, but also that the gift that some boys may impart on their partners. Hopefully, obviously, we want to do our best to encourage a responsible use of the gift, especially when it comes to
I want the gift.
addressing the replacement rate.
Robbie, can I have a gift?
So Galvin Glavin was so unliked that people were happy for Galvin Glavin that he was going to be that his leg muscles had grown basically grown over his waist.
Enjoy that. His what has grown over what?
So his muscles in his legs had basically expanded and swollen to the point where you ever see somebody. You ever see somebody who just has a really long shirt on?
Yeah, sometimes you see these people on the street, they wear these incredibly long shirts. You say, is that a dress or a shirt? It's just a long shirt.
So if you can imagine if the shirt was reversed, if the shirt was on the legs and the shirt was reversed and it went over the crotch area. That's kind of what the legs muscles would look like.
Thank you, Tugboat Commander.
Thank you, Tugboat Commander.
2 tier 1s. Thank you, Vague Plague. Oh, we did it.
Tugboat Commander reminds me of Toy Commander on the Sega Dreamcast.
Robbie.
Wonderful exploration of a child's playroom through the vehicles given life by the player and also the imagination of the child.
Robbie, we've completed level 4. We're moving on to level 5 of hype, I believe.
Absolutely.
Level 5 hype, 4 or 5 more minutes to continue this wonderful story about an upside-down shirt that has covered the chest.
No, the chest. Well, it's working its way up there, but mostly the leg muscles have basically covered everything below the belly button. So it's like a sheet of muscle that this person has developed through their morning rampaging up and down
for
steps.
6 months. That's half a year of EGI2.
And let's not forget that when Galvin Glavin runs up and down these steps, he's knocking people to the side. He's making old ladies spill their beans. The beans are going up and down the steps. People are slipping. They're falling down the steps, creating various piles of chaos and humanity, a dire situation in a small village.
This is a funny story of old people slipping on stairs.
And they didn't have hospitals back then, Al. They didn't have hospitals where people could go if they had broken their necks or their backs.
Thank you, Scrampy Pants, for
if you
gifting
get
a tier
their
1
toe,
sub
if a toe got torn off, then the toe was just gone. We didn't put anything on it like a salve or some sort of a ribbon to help the toe grow back. That didn't come until much later.
Hambone Boosie, enjoy that sub.
In fact, what we see is that these people were mutilated on a daily basis by this terrifying youngster whose leg muscles were almost inhuman. I mean, he was human. There wasn't anything special about him. He had made a lot of bad choices, but he hadn't actually crossed the threshold from natural to supernatural. He was just unpleasant as a person, and also in his personality, and also unpleasant to look at because of, again, the weird flap of muscle that covered up his private parts.
There was a muscle?
That's what we were talking about with the shirt, like the reverse. It's like a shirt that comes up from the legs.
And what is the gift that boys give themselves?
The gift that the boys give themselves is the ability to reach down waistal area and find what I don't know what's the easiest way to say it. If you look around your waist and you kind of feel around there with the tips of your fingers, oftentimes people will discover various extrusions and a soft part. And sometimes the soft part becomes the opposite of that. And when that occurs, when that chemical reaction takes place, any number of things can happen. You can either put your hands to the sides of you and demand the end, that this is the end, and we will go no further. And then you go off and you do something crazy, like like jump off of a big tall tree into a relatively shallow puddle of water.
Where's the gift, Robbie?
But the gift, but if you're in a relationship with somebody and you and that person have discussed the gift, and is a person of a birthing person, then you can potentially, one thing can lead to another, and before you know it, a couple of young hot people can become parents very quickly.
This is a gift. This is a parental gift, like when a parent buys you a game that has a parental warning you're not supposed to get.
Well, that's what the story is, Allan. The story is because
1 minute warning. We have one more minute to continue this parental gift story.
In the absence of
one more minute, we're only at 36%. Give generously.
In the absence of traditional media, in the absence of traditional storefronts and venues of commerce, these labels that we used to slap onto video games to give people warnings about things, video games and movies and CDs. Have become relatively meaningless because we have so much access to things at the very tips of our fingers, whether they be the gifts that we have within our own bodies or the gifts without. And that brings me back to Gavin.
Oh my gosh! Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Turbozord, for gifting all these subs. Thank you for gifting all these subs. Enjoy. I don't know what you get with this membership to this program, but enjoy. Oh, thank you, Scanny Pants. Wow! Oh my gosh! Thank you. So everyone who just got a sub, enjoy that. That's for you. Enjoy that. The story will continue.
But thank God,
for another 4 or 5 more minutes.
So the old women that were laid up at the bottom of this long flight of steps at the bottom of this very steep hill.
How many women?
How many women?
How many old women were laid up at the steps of the hill?
I would say. I mean, and let's say and when we talk about old women and these periods of time, so we have to say that people didn't usually live past 30. So they were old women by the town standards, but relatively young and still quite. Physically available to one another in a way that perhaps some people are physically available to each other now. Of course, they were also horribly mutilated by their long falls down these long flights of stairs. So,
but they're available.
But in so many ways, that brought them closer together, Allan, and that can be something that we all take comfort in.
Makes you stronger.
Even in the past times, in the ancient times, when people's legs were broken in weird directions and toes were lost to the annals of time, that people still were able to look at each other and find commonplace and find a sense of comfort in the ability to reach down and give each other great gifts of joy, and sometimes those gifts took a long time to give, and sometimes it was worth the amount of time to give the gift.
I'm so interested and excited about just the idea of these gifts. I'm getting excited. It's like Christmas morning for gifts that you give yourself.
But as a result of Gavin Glavin's gallivanting up and down the steps, he had a great deal of beans had been spilt on the steps, and so the beans.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because they had been run over so many times by his massively just unbelievably muscular trunk-like legs. I mean, if you kind of think about Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love to think about Groot.
No, that's what we're talking about with the legs. I mean, just like really just cylindrical, very, very twiggy kind of legs, because the veins would run out of places to go.
Robbie, do you remember Groot?
Yes. The veins would get squeezed out of the leg, is what I'm trying to tell you. So they would be like twigs on Groot's legs.
I love that.
And through the process of constantly running up and down, his what feet there were underneath those things were so calloused
Groot
to the point of being sanded down to almost like a smooth marble-like surface underneath. So if you can picture just like a long, fleshy, muscular trunk with blood vessels that had become hardened by being protruding out of the skin.
Robbie?
And then a marble kind of, not a cup, but a kind of a marble platter at the bottom of the leg. Well, and the stairs are covered in beans, Allan.
Robbie, who sanded down Groot?
Covered in slippery old beans. That had also been because of the amount of time that had passed. We were talking about probably a good 5 years of these morning rampages by Galvin Glavin.
Not very smart for gifting a tier 1 sub to James Robot Trevor. James, you didn't have you didn't sub?
Congratulations to James Trevor for finally subbing to the channel after all this time of being a part of the show. Now we are officially James is officially subbed to the program he produces.
Welcome to the EGI2 family, James.
One morning, there was a terrible accident.
Oh no!
And Galvin Glavin, with his weird legs and hard marbleized feet, slipped on a beam.
Oh geez!
And went crashing down. And his legs which had grown so incredibly
Groot-like.
Thank you very much, Allan. Thank you for paying attention to the program.
I love these stories that you tell.
45
seconds left, so you might want to finish it.
The spinning as having these heavy ass legs, the spinning that occurred on the steps as he rolled down the steps, he picked up incredible amount of speed. And when he got to the
30-second warning, you're not going to finish it.
When he got to the bottom of the steps,
I spoke too soon. Thank you, Game Quarter. Wow, we're gifting a bunch of tier 1 subs. Everyone enjoy those subs. This is incredible because the story's gotten quite interesting. This sort of Groot-like leg character is spiraling because of the centrifugal force of the unbalanced weight of the leg. He's spiraling down the stairs at a tremendous force. So let's see how this goes.
And I just want to. Things are gonna take a turn here, folks. So I just want to really just remind everybody that if the process of human replication is something that disturbs you mightily,
not at all,
then you might want to plug your ears because something quite strange happens, and that was as a result of flying down the steps at this incredible speed, just flying down, heavy legs, turning over a lighter body over and over and over and over again, speeding up, flying down the steps, hits the bottom of the landing at the very bottom, and bursts.
Really?
Completely blows apart.
Did you make this up?
I didn't. Just imagine like a bag filled with just like a plastic bag you might put a sandwich in that's filled with plastic fish and what other things that people put in bags? Plastic fish and perhaps some
candy?
like little earplugs, little foam earplugs.
Soap for the bathroom.
So the insides of Galvin Glavin go flying.
Jesus.
Past the landing of the steps and into the sanitarium.
The sanitarium.
I think they would call it a sanitarium.
What is
still,
it?
Even though it wasn't quite, it didn't have a medical practice. It was where all those women who were still of fertile childbearing age spent their days together.
Nice.
Gifting each other. Oh, you could say in some way they were gifting each other subs. So you get a room of these terribly wonderful women incredibly wonderful women who have just spent most of their days since they've basically lost body parts, giving each other gifts for
Robbie,
long periods of the day.
Robbie, here's a gift.
They're all, I'm just trying to say, Allan, that they're all quite, they're blushing often. Does that make sense?
This is why you subscribe. This is what you get for subbing.
They're blushing at each other, and they're blushing with each other. They're all, I mean, they're all different shapes, all different sizes. They're all beautiful in their own way.
Whoa!
Jesus.
Oh wow! This is the gift that the community gives Robbie.
Okay, so let's just thank you for that. These are very thick. So let's just they fly. They could give me a paper cut. I'm a little worried about that. Jesus. And we don't have a lot of them, so we have to reload the gun if we end up getting the gun, if we end up emptying the gun. And then you can picture the way that these are flying out of the gun. That's what's happening when Galvin Glavin, who has been disintegrated, flies through the wall into this community space that these women have created for each other, for the purpose of no longer being lonely with their various physical.
Did you see that?
Uniqueness.
I am Groot.
And Galvin Glavin manages.
Oh, I think it's out. It's out of money. Here,
Galvin Glavin manages to.
I'll collect all the money.
Somehow, because as he flies through the air, the different smaller parts of him becoming smaller still. He's particulate. He's like a being of particulates.
I'm gonna reload.
And particulating particulates. Each one of these women being in a fairly fertile state. Galvin Glavin, his body torn to shreds by his own excesses, his own rampaging, his own gallivanting. 35
seconds to give Robbie the gift. Give Robbie the gift he gives himself.
That means that all of these wonderful women, incredible women, all have little Gavins inside of them.
Thank you, Game Quarter. Robbie. Ooh, almost there.
Almost there.
15 seconds. 5 more. We need 5 more bits of hype.
And that is why. Criminy.
Yay, we did it! Robbie.
All right.
Robbie, the story is going to continue for 4 or 5 more minutes. Wow. Okay. Whoa. They're giving hype.
Obviously, we talked about how this is about somebody who lived twice, but and in some way, so obviously we're dealing with the issue of multiple pregnancies all happening all at once as a result of this incredible event, where a young man's body has become the body, not just the seed. He is the seed. He has become his own seed, and he is now father. But because of the mutations as a result of his.
Okay, there it goes. Every time you do it, all the money goes, and then we have no more money. So this is
as a result of the mutations that he has put into his own DNA because of his weird life.
We need to get a lot more money.
He has created a type of sperm, Allan.
What?
He's created the Galvin Glavin's sperm is crazy.
What do you mean? It's like extra thick or creamy?
No, I don't want to talk about those kinds of things. I'm saying like the individual worms themselves are all
worms.
They all make it.
Oh.
So you think about what you learn about in health class.
They're all 100%
where the worms, not all the worms make it to the egg, right?
Sure, only one or two.
Some of them get blasted out of the sky.
Most of them just get on the pillow.
The various defenses that the egg puts up, similar to sort of the gully run in one of those Star Wars movies.
I just wipe it on my shirt.
But Galvin Glavin, he makes it completely. And so all these eggs are now fully inundated with individual worms. So 9 months later, when these great women And they are great women. They're brave for what they've been through, and they're braver still for what they're about to go through.
We're at such a high level of hype that the story has gotten so incredibly graphic and weird. I can't even contain myself. I feel like Robbie's giving me a gift.
9 months later, and 9 months later, it doesn't even come close.
What do you
because it doesn't. 9 months later is what we are used to now in our current iteration of humanity.
What do you mean?
But the people in this community,
I don't get that.
Gave birth in 9 days.
A 9-day birth?
A 9-day pregnancy for all these women.
Oh, a 9-day pregnancy.
A 9-day pregnancy. And when they give birth, the babies that they give birth to.
2-minute warning. Just go nuts on that money gun, you guys.
I just want to say that there's nothing wrong.
I'll collect the money. It takes so long to collect all the money.
I just want to say there's nothing wrong with a full head of hair. All right?
Of course not. Are you talking about my hair?
But we're talking about.
I have really thick hair.
We're talking about women giving birth to.
Fruit.
What's the word that I'm trying? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Children? People. People give birth to people. Women give birth to people.
They're giving birth in 9 days after Galvin Glavin has disintegrated.
Can you guys stop?
Thank you guys so much for the incredible things that are happening right now on EGI2 Stream 18. This has been so far one of the best streams that we've had so far in terms of people. We are still in the hype train story. We do want to try to finish as much of the story as possible.
We have 48 more seconds, and every fake dollar represents about a fraction of a penny, a real world penny, for Robbie to keep. He doesn't share the pennies with me or James.
Think of what's a classic American car, Allan? What's one of the Dodge Charger? Let's say,
or a BMW would be
a BMW. Well, that's not an American car. That's German. That's a German car.
Okay, every time I put it in, it just shoots back out.
So we can't. Obviously.
God, this is kind of a.
These are a bunch of. Imagine.
Money is a curse.
Imagine if instead of imagine you go to a fast food joint, say you're Taco Bell or McDonald's or something like that.
Maybe we recalibrate the gun to just shoot at $1.
And instead of giving you a hamburger or
3 seconds, you're not gonna make it.
Or bean and cheese burrito, they give you a Dodge Charger.
Okay, Robbie, stop. Okay, cut. Okay, so we've hit a very high level of hype. I want to thank everyone in the community who made the money shoot at the gun, made me have to pick up all the money. It was hard to pick up the money. There was so much of the money, and it is hard to pick up and collect. Thank you for doing that. This story was crazy. This story is over. The hype train is over. We're gonna start EGI2 now. EGI2 hasn't even started. Our guest today is James Trevor, our producer's mom. She's not here yet. We don't know where his mom is. Thank you to everyone. Back to you, Robbie. Let's start the show.
Back to you, Allan. EGI2 Stream 18 redo. It's sort of like Final Fantasy 14 when they did Final Fantasy 14 twice. Yep. Because the first one wasn't quite up to what they had hoped, so they just did it again. That's what we're doing with EGI2 Stream 18. We had a great stream on last Wednesday, a week past in the past, and that stream devolved into a very thoughtful discussion of literary topics. A lot of good book recommendations. A lot of people were very, very open about the things that they've been reading and the books that they like, and trying to find common ground with writers that we all enjoy reading in bed while avoiding gifts to ourselves. And so we're doing Stream 18 again. We got Allan Resnick here. We got James Trevor. Any moment now, James Trevor's mom is going to come to the show, so we'll probably need to take a break just to sort of reset for that. Just want to give you guys a heads up for that. But we do have to start the show in earnest. Although I just want to say that the story that we've been doing this evening has not come close to ending. I want to just say that we've only talked about really one life of Galvin Glavin.
It did end.
It didn't end.
The hype train ended.
No, I said the story was that Galvin Glavin lived twice in a very short period of time.
So do you want to get the hype train going again? Get the second hype train going. The hype train can live twice. And if you hear this, if you get enough bits and bytes, maybe Robbie will tell about Glavin's second
Galvin Glavin.
Second Life. That is a video game. Second Life, that a video game?
Well, Second Life is Second Life is a video. Well, Second Life is more of a community, Alan. And in so many ways, Galvin Glavin it was sort of a community unto himself as a result of the efforts and the expedited pregnancies of many wonderful women in the town where he had terrorized.
And Groot was in the story, so it's kind of a part of the larger story of the MCU.
Vertical Mammal says Second Life is more of a naughtiness simulator, and I have to agree. Next up on EGI2 is what are we doing?
Not a clue. I don't know what you do.
I just want to point out something really fast that we did EGI2. I have been game streaming a lot lately, and we're just finished a Resident Evil Village. What a great time that was. Allan's Resnick's got a special report coming up on Resident Evil Village later on in the show. But we also, the first one that we played was Resident Evil 3 Remake. And if people were paying attention, if people were watching Resident Evil 3 Remake get played through on EGI2 stream, when EGI2 streamed Resident Evil 3 Remake, you'll note that I got a C grade at the end of that game. The classic hard stare of the Resident Evil grading system really took me down a notch. I thought I did a pretty good job. I knew that I wasn't going to get an A, but I didn't expect a C, and that was I might have tried to laugh it off, but unfortunately it was a big disappointment. But I just wanted to point out that I did continue playing Resident Evil 3 Remake several times more past that, past the game streaming, and I want to just point out that this is a true fact. This is a true fact that I played through and I got the S.
Robbie,
what do you think of that, Alan? I beat Resident Evil 3 in under 2 hours. I only saved once, and I managed to get the S grade, and I'm quite proud of myself for that because I stuck with
it. Puppy Mouse says, "Yay!" I'm proud of you, Robbie. I want to first voice that. Okay, there it is. The S. That is great. I am proud of you, but I'm just kind of curious why the audience didn't get to see the S achievement. How can we? People saw you get the C live,
right?
And then there was no one around to witness this S.
There was no one around to witness the S, the accomplishment that I made, because one of the reasons why I think I did a bad job. I do think a C is subpar. It is. They say a C is an average, but we all know it's a subpar grade. The reason that I did that was because I was trying to be a good host and welcome people into the stream and keep conversation going and try to have fun with it. But when it came down to it, I knew that I was a better player than that. And so when I sat down one evening and decided that I was going to blast through that thing, I did it. And you can check, and if you want to double check, that is on my Steam profile. That's in my public content on my Steam profile. Captain Laserbash, is that what it is?
I don't know what your Steam profile is.
I have a Steam profile. I don't remember what the name is. I always forget to look at it, but I think it's either Laserbash or Captain Laserbash. It's you can see how, if you want to double check with numbers that once we start bringing the spreadsheet back in later in the year. We want to make sure that there's some transparency there, so you can always double check my numbers from the spreadsheet onto my Steam account.
Robbie, I trust you, but I can't verify the factual reality of what you're saying. I don't know for a fact, because no one witnessed it, that someone didn't come over and achieve the S on your console, who you maybe loaned it to. I believe you. I do believe you. I know you're very good at games, and I was pretty frankly surprised you
that was the fourth. I had to play through it 4 times to get the S. I just want to.
But no one
saw it because I didn't want people to see it, because I didn't want people to know that I was struggling. I do think it's important if you're having a struggle that you do ask for help, but there's some struggles that you want to take on your own, and this was one that I wanted to do on my own. And it's an official screenshot from the game that I was playing. There's all sorts of metadata to back that up on the account, So you'll know that
no
it
one
was.
saw it. It's just metadata. It's just.
Let's go to the phones if we can and see what people are saying about. What people are saying about Resident Evil 3 remake, the S grade, if it was worth the time and effort to call.
I'm sick.
If it was worth it for me to do that, or if I should have spent perhaps more time playing Resident Evil Village, getting an earlier start on that, so that I would then be playing something else entirely. Looks like we have a call coming in. Callers, you're on the air with EGI2. What are you thinking?
I really enjoyed watching you play Resident Evil 3 and Village. It was a really good time, and I liked watching you upgrade guns. I like the gun upgrade function of Resident Evil, specifically 4 and 8. Those are my favorites.
Joe Botnick, you actually gave me a good deal of wisdom about the pistol upgrade situation, especially in Resident Evil Village, and I wish I had taken your advice and just kept with my upgraded pistol, because I have been playing on a second playthrough on my own for Resident Evil 8, and I went ahead and picked up what I thought would be a much more superior pistol. And unfortunately, it just isn't worth the money that I've been putting into it. And I feel like when I'm going to have to play the game again with the money that I make on this second playthrough, a third playthrough, that I'll probably just put that into my sniper rifle, or perhaps the Magnum. Although Magnum never, Magnum never quite feels.
Hold on, sound up in the chat if Robbie is quiet, and sound up in the chat if Allan is quiet, and let me know if Joe is quiet.
How do I sound? Everyone sounds fine to me from here.
Everybody sounds good, Joe. People sound. What's that poll say?
No.
We just had a poll in the chat. I can't see the poll from here.
Allan also quiet. Allan quiet. Joe sounds good.
Is it something in the mix? Perhaps with the phone call on the.
See that pistol situation. That's how they get you. You think you're not satisfied with your current situation, and you try and change it, and it turns out it was a mistake, and you should have just literally stuck to your guns.
Oh, I absolutely. And people are saying, should Robbie get an S on stream? I think that's a solid no, Allan. So if you're gonna make the effort for the S, sometimes you do have to go it alone. You need that focus. You can't be doing it on stream. You can't be trying to have a conversation with people when you're trying to blast through these waves of critters and just jerks on your way to the best possible grade you can get.
I'm sorry I doubted you. An S on Steam is a gift that you must give to yourself.
And we do seem like we have fixed the sound issue there. So Joe, what are your thoughts on the Resident Evil 8 situation?
I like it. I have a preference for these games where there's a kooky vendor character, and I like the Duke in Resident Evil Village. I do still think Village. Well, I used to think Village was a bad name for a game, and I remember when Capcom, I think they had a poll on Twitter or something, and they were like, "What should we call Resident Evil 8?" And everyone said Village, and I thought it was a mistake. But then during the stream, when I realized it was about raising children, and it's like it takes a village, and I was like, "Oh, actually, it's not so bad." And I actually changed my mind on the quality of the name based on that revelation during your stream. So thank you for that.
It takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to do the thing that they did to that child in that game, and also the various revelations. They called Resident Evil Revelations, but I think there's a lot more revelations in Resident Evil 8 Village. I call it Resident Evil. I like to use both of I like to use the number and the name. What do you think of that?
I like them both. Danny Laundry just pointed out that Village is also VIII, like the Roman numeral 8, and I get that as well, but I think that doesn't really stand on its own. But I do still think I like the name now.
Allan, what do you think about this situation with the naming conventions?
I think it's a great name. I think the Roman numerals playing perfectly into the title, and the graphic design of the title is a clever nice little thing that we got to experience. And I'm curious what Joe would have called Resident Evil Village before coming around to liking the name. Back to you, Joe.
Back to you, Joe. Back to you, Allan. Thank you for that great question, Joe.
See, this is the thing. I didn't really have a very good alternative, but I mean, there's lots going on in that game. You know, you could have Resident Evil 8 Goo Man.
Goo Man.
Like Goo Man.
Goo Man. How about Goo Man? Goo Man with Duke Buddy. Goo Man and the Duke Buddy.
Goo Man and the Duke Buddy. There you go. Like that. That just that's perfect.
And he is a good buddy.
Robbie, can I?
He comes off a little off. He's a little off-putting when you first meet the Duke, but when he comes around to it, he really does. He really sticks his neck out for you, doesn't he, Allan?
He's a true friend.
Yep.
Robbie, can I add you on Steam? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody? I don't think have I never talked about my Steam profile before. I felt like I've made that public at one point, and yeah, people go nuts. I don't do anything weird on Steam. I don't stream through Steam, but there's still sure. Maybe get like a badge for adding you or something like that, or I'll get a badge for adding you. I don't know how it works. Allan, how does it work?
Thank you.
I don't know what.
Brett66, Robbie, would RE Village be better if it had Spawn and Shadowhawk in it? I don't think it would be better. I think Ethan Hunt's the right feller for the job. What do you think, Joe?
He is as proven by how everything wrapped up in that game. I think he's a good man. He's a good father. I don't want to spoil too much. I think saying Goo Man might have already given too much away, but he's a good man.
We talked a lot about the Goo Man in terms of Galvin Glavin and his whole transformation from kind of a hard tree not tree person, but some kind of a tree-like.
Did you say Ethan Hunt?
Yeah, Ethan Hunt, the guy who directed before.
Ethan Winters.
Ethan Hunt.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to meeting James's mum. I'm excited to see what she thinks about Robbie and Allan and all of this, and what her son's been doing with his life.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the call, Joe. Got another call coming in.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
And it's always nice to hear from Joe because he does have such a positive outlook on these situations. Tremendously inspiring
too. That
British
great
voice. Honestly, you could do anything with that voice. You could probably get onto an airplane without a ticket. Have you ever tried that, Allan?
I did, yes, once.
Caller, you're on the air with EGI2. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And how? What do you think Joe could get away with?
Who?
What?
Come again?
Joe?
Now this is
now this is the first on EGI2. We've got some sort of a.
Is that Joe?
This is the caller formerly known as Brooklyn.
Brooklyn?
Yes.
No, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, like what all the rappers are always shouting about.
Is this a prank? Are you pranking?
No.
Well, it's not a just because someone has a rapper voice doesn't mean that they're pranking you.
No, yeah, this is my voice.
So obviously you're in the rap scene, you're in the rap world. Is the hype real?
The hype.
Are you guys always smashing bottles of champagne and doing various flips off of bridges and what other things you see in rap, Allan?
In rap?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see things in rap.
You see lots of things. You see, like I said, people smashing the champagne. And when you say smash the champagne, it's like a double entendre.
Rap is music. You can't see it.
And when you say flip off a bridge, that could be you're backflipping off of the into the river, or you're actually walking by the bridge and you say to the bridge, maybe the bridge has lanes of traffic closed, and you flip it off.
Brooklyn, does that make sense?
It sure does.
Brooklyn, you're obviously quite a talented rapper. But one of the things I always ask rappers the first time I meet them, and I have met some rappers, 5 or 6 of them at least. I always ask for a good freestyle. So hit us up with your best freestyle.
No. Please, no.
Yeah, well, we all know what rappers are doing in the shower. They're just rapping away and just. they're calling up their friends and rapping on the phone. They go to the post office and they find their rapper postman, and they all rap together. I've seen it happen. I know it happens.
Look, I wanted to talk about.
I'll tell you a story, Brooklyn. I was at a diner once in Brooklyn, in the city Brooklyn, with a rapper, and a guy came up to him and offered him $500 for his sweatshirt. You ever is that commonplace in the rap world?
I mean, no one's ever offered me money for my sweatshirt.
All right.
I will say that my sweatshirts are.
Well, when's the next show? When can we catch rapper the Brooklyn rapper formerly known as Brooklyn performing live?
You're still known as Brooklyn.
No, I guess.
No, a little bit, yeah.
This is a prank?
You guys have kind of added, I guess I added myself here on the show.
Such an incredible art. 50 years of rap, Allan. That's what they said the other day in the newspaper.
And here's to 50 more.
And here's 50 more. Thank you for your call, Brooklyn. I hope you have a wonderful evening, rapping away the days and nights for the rest of your days and nights. What a wonderful experience that was to have a real rapper on the show. Well, another caller coming in. We're still waiting for James's mom to show up. So as soon as James's mom, she's here.
She should be here in like 5 or 10 minutes.
So 5 or 10
so we'll
minutes.
Take a break
so
when
if
she
you have
arrives.
any rap stories that you'd like to tell us about, this is an EGI2 special stream. This is the first time that we've ever really talked about rap, Allan. I mean, where are you fall on the genre?
I love it.
You have would you have a favorite rapper?
I love Brooklyn.
Brooklyn was pretty good. I think that's
good.
pretty. That was a pretty solid performance, and hopefully Brooklyn carries that experience. Obviously, it sounds like Brooklyn's a young person, so hopefully all of the fame and rap doesn't go to Brooklyn's head, and they end up becoming kind of a facsimile of a person, which often happens with fame in early life.
Just slow down with fame as you get it. Enjoy it, but slow down. Take things slow. Take a moment to breathe the air and enjoy what you've worked so hard for, Brooklyn. And don't go crazy. Don't buy a house yet. Don't buy a house or get a car that goes too fast.
Start an index fund. Maybe put some money into a Roth IRA and just let it sit. And just enjoy the security that comes with knowing that you have a private retirement fund waiting for you at the end of your life.
And focus on the music and the beats.
And focus on friendship, because a lot of these rappers, they lose their friends because they get into various rap battles, and they all start, people get slapped and people's legs get broken. There was that story of one rapper I remember very clearly. Not the rapper that I had dinner with. It was a late dinner. It was like 11 o'clock. So it was a weird time to ask to give someone $500 for a sweatshirt. That's all I'm trying to say. But there was that one story about the rapper who pulled up in a car to just a kind of a rap palace, and he got out of the car and he started spitting rhymes at the house, and he had his turntables in the back of the car, and he started just turning the hell out of those tables.
Wow.
Caller, you're on the air with EGI2. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And where do you stand on the rap genre?
This is Pam from Denver, and I'm a casual fan of
Pam from Denver, casual fan. So no turntables in the back of your car. You're not driving around raiding rap palaces and demanding attention from these jackals.
No, can't say I am.
Pam, Resident Evil 8. We were talking about that earlier. Do you have any? Could that make a good rap album? Could you make a sizable, maybe like a 2 or 3 disc anthology out of that whole situation?
Out of what situation? Sorry, did I miss it?
Well, the whole Ethan Hunt thing. I mean, obviously he comes out of Resident Evil 7 thinking he's on a glide path to normality, and by the middle of Resident Evil 8, he's hanging out with the Duke and upgrading sniper rifles. I mean, how often does that happen in rap?
Right. I mean, I don't recall any albums that have touched on a subject like this before, so I think it would be a great 2 to 3 album stretch.
What would you'd have to give it a good name, Allan. You have to give Resident Evil 8 the rap version of Resident Evil 8 a catchy name, something with maybe with the word beats in it, or scritchy scratchies, What do they say about scritches?
I'll check.
They say
How do you say it?
it's up to the rapper to.
Robbie, how do you spell scritchy scratch?
Scritchy scratch is it's 2 words. Scritch,
okay.
which is just like Scotch, but
Scritchy
but
scratch.
you kind of move some letters around and switch some other ones out. But you get there eventually.
Scritchy Scratch by Lindsay Curie.
I mean, that honestly, pretty convincing. So that's the name of the Resident Evil 8 rap album. If anybody wants to just take the name, give us a chunk, maybe 5 to 8% of whatever earnings you make off of Scratch, the Resident Evil rap album, Resident Evil 8 rap album. And she looks, and she could be it. She could be one of these jackals that's always rapping from their palaces and telling us what to do and how to live our lives. Pam from Denver, it's tiring, isn't it? All these people that try to place their own rules on us.
I am tired of everyone trying to place their rules onto me. You're so right, Robbie.
Scratch, a perfect match. Resident Evil 8 down the hatch.
Wow, is that the opening line?
It could, yeah, absolutely. Do you have any beats?
Yeah.
This is how it happens. You start making these connections and you write it down, Robbie. Write that down. Because this is going to come in handy when you could
Scratch,
a perfect match.
A perfect match. Resident Evil 8 down the hatch.
Okay. Wow. We're making music on Twitch.
People
Twitch.
No one's talking about this.
Twitch Switch. Nintendo's Twitch Switch.
Scratch.
Sega in a ditch.
Perfect match.
Shovels at the ready.
Twitch Scratch.
Twitch Switch. Sega's in the ditch. Shovels at the ready. Better get.
Yep.
Ready.
Better get.
Heady.
Dynamite Heady.
Oh.
Dynamite Heady.
How did you? Wow.
Ooh.
Robbie, write it down and give bits and bytes, and money will shoot out of that gun, and it'll feel like rap.
Yes. And then when James's mom gets here, she'll be very impressed that her son produces a show that literally can produce money out of thin air. And by thin air, I mean a machine with an Arduino switch on it.
Wow. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Thank you for
And I just want to remind that everybody that I did get the S grade in Resident Evil 3 Remake, so that was a pretty big day for me. I woke the wife up and made sure that she saw it. So we do have some human verifications that we can find if we really want to. Scratch, scraw, plop. Scratch, slaw, plop.
Scratch, slaw, plop.
What's like what are the Pam from Denver? What are those rappers called that only use they just go pop, 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 pop.
They go what?
They go pop, 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 pop.
Like mumble rapper?
Mumble rappers are just no more. It's just like a pop, weep, weep, pop, 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 pop.
Wait, what was that part? What was that weep, weep part?
Weep, 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 like that. I think that's called beatboxing.
Robbie,
Allan.
you're so talented.
Oh.
Robbie can do pretty much anything.
I just want to. So breaking news. This is a rap show for the time being until James's mother walks through that door and we open the. We've got the phone lines are open. We are very much enjoying our rap conversation. Yep. This has been just a wonderful experience talking.
Wow, there's a lot of images about Scratch.
I think the money gun's jammed. I think the motor was just going.
All right, I'll work on it.
So Pam, what's your favorite? What's your favorite artist? Rap artist
Or painter.
Rap artist?
or rap painter? Maybe.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, I do like
Scraps.
Kendrick Lamar. He's in the news lately. With his recent beef with Drake.
With Drake.
I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah.
Starfield related, it could be.
I saw an image of Drake laying on his bed, completely out of his clothes.
That reminds me, Drake and the 99 Dragons. You guys remember Drake and the 99 Dragons on the original Xbox?
No, I don't.
Well, it was a Majesco game. Pam, you'll remember this. Majesco, the people that brought us games like Blood Rain, and it was a shark game. Was it a Jaws game, Allan? Was it Jaws Unleashed? Was that Majesco?
I don't remember that.
Or perhaps most people will remember Majesco for their ill-fated epic sci-fi adventure Advent Rising.
I'm thinking more about Drake right now.
Giovanna H says Drake is the 100th dragon. Because there was 99 dragons that he had to battle.
I'm gonna see if I can find that picture
Epic
of Drake.
in a
Drake.
Can you unlock Drake and Suikoden? Catherine Thunderglass, you can unlock Drake and Suikoden. Pam from Denver, are you a Suikoden fan?
I can't say I am.
Drake bedroom
I
mattress.
don't play a lot of games, so unfortunately I have big blind spots.
If you look out the window, if you look at the window there of your apartment up in Denver, well, you could rap about things that you see, and then you could be Pam the Denver rapper.
Drake.
You're right. I have them written. And that's about it.
Flip flop.
What was that?
Majesco's putting out slop. They don't develop games no more.
What do you mean?
We don't see their name in the store.
Flip flop or putting out slop.
Majesco's putting out slop.
What? It won't let me click on it.
It said flip flop. Majesco's putting out slop.
Why won't it let me click on Drake's bed?
Thank you for your call, Pam from Denver. What a wonderful thing to get all these great updates from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, and I have a mom update. My mom has arrived, so maybe we could take a quick break, Robbie?
Let's take a quick break while we set up for James Trevor's mom and funny video game news, everybody.
Yay!
All right.
Thank you, everybody. We are back. We are back with James Trevor's mom, Beth, who was just flown in from Montgomery, Alabama.
That's right.
It was a good flight.
It was perfect.
And good weather, not too bumpy.
Not too bumpy. There was a little bit starting off, but we had a pilot that was having his last flight on Delta.
Last flight on Delta?
Yeah.
All right.
He was retiring.
Well, that's nice. So we all got to send off. I was just thinking about there's been all those twisters over the sort of middle part of the country these last few weeks. I was worried that you would encounter a great deal of turbulence.
Oh, I know.
Or perhaps the flight would be overlong as a result of the pilot steering you around the tornadoes, which has happened to me once or twice
really?
before. Yeah, especially these dust devils over the deserts. People will oftentimes try to steer around them.
Aren't they the devil?
They are. They don't lie. Those things look crazy from the sky. But Beth, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you were responsible for the creation of our producer James. He's been such a great help to us as we've struggled to put this show together. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a willing participant in that whole process.
I sure have been ever since 1992.
And just 1992, very interesting year in 1992. I was just trying to think of games that had been released in 1992. Mortal Kombat, you want to probably say one of the Mario, Donkey Kong Country, Allan?
That's right.
Donkey Kong Country? No, that was 1994.
Oh, yes, that's what I meant. 1994. It's nice to meet you.
1992 was an interesting year, but I really want to talk about we mostly talk about games that came out between 2002 and 2011. So that 9-year period is mostly the focus of the show. But we've also been talking a lot about rap tonight, and that's been an interesting diversion as we're sort of anticipating your arrival. Rappers started calling in, people that do all sorts of crazy rap stuff. Just people that travel the world, driving their cars up to rap castles with the turntables in the back of the car and just doing scratch on the turntables, Allan?
Interesting.
Yes, that's what we've been talking about. I have a question for Beth.
Good.
Go
for it.
It's a two-part question. First part was what was James like as a little baby? And the second part of the question is what has James told you about EGI2, which is the program that this is?
The first one is easy to answer. He was the cutest little baby and the sweetest. And growing up, he was just adorable and funny. And he had a little pillow that he carried.
Okay.
And he called it low.
Breaking news.
James
James, as a baby, carried a cute little pillow.
He had a little pillow.
That's adorable.
His low. You go,
I like that.
Low.
Incredible what
this is the only
and now
only show that has this kind of
news. Him here as a grown man, hardened just like one of those rappers that drives up to rap palaces with turntables in the trunks of their cars, demanding attention, demanding the rappers come out of the rap palaces.
Is that what they do?
That's what the articles say. We've had 50 years of rap. That's what I read in the newspaper the other day. And what did you say about that, Allan?
I didn't say anything about. I don't know very much about rap at all.
You said something about the 50 years more is what you said.
Oh yes, I said 50 years.
So
more.
here's to 50 years more of rap, and also 50 years more of James Trevor. At least 50.
Yeah,
we would
because
if it was just 50, I think that would be truncated. I think that would be needlessly brief. I would say, James, you should probably live for a good 130, 140 more years.
Wow.
Perhaps even longer. I mean, you could get one of those crazy arm and leg transplants that people are talking about.
Sound off in the chat how many more years you want
James to live.
Yeah.
At least 50.
Yeah. Hopefully it's high.
Yeah.
But I did wanted to say, Beth, that there's two things that I want to tell you. First is that you're from Montgomery. My family on my mother's side is from Birmingham and Mobile. So I have a lot of Alabama in my family and in my heart and in my mind. We named our son Joellen after my mother, who was also named Joe after her mother. And so we've always had the ability as Alabamans by creed to do our little tricks with names.
We sure do.
So there's a lot of
I'm so
Ashleys
glad
and
you got
Lindsays
that.
on my side. Yes.
Glad you got this.
Actually, fun fact, Allan. I don't know if I ever told you this. My grandfather's middle name is Lindsay, and we all called him Liz.
I would name if I had a child, I would name it Robbie, or maybe James.
If I had a child, I would name it Ethan Hunt after everything that he went through with his child in the rap battle that became Resident Evil 8 Village. Beth, I'm so glad that you're here. The second thing I wanted to tell you, and I will try to not make this a big part of the thing, was that in past times I am married now to someone who's not who's named Katie. But I used to be in a relationship with someone named Beth, and in many ways, Beth was the relationship that I had with Beth was a tough one, but it was very fulfilling, and I wish that we had ended on better terms. So in many ways, you being here is a kind of it's a chance for me to sort of mend what was scarred, if that makes any sense.
At least to the name Beth. Yeah.
No, Scampy Pants in the chat is saying boo Beth. No. It was boo Robbie. Boo Bradley.
Boo Bradley, the famous character
from the Alabama-based book.
Oh yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird. So absolutely. So we're bringing it all together here on EGI2. We've got To Kill a Mockingbird. We've got Rap. And now we've got a little segment that I've been excited to share with a new person, which is funny video game news.
Uh-oh.
So if we can just get funny video game news, graphic. Funny. Wait, where's the? We got to make sure to get the. So we. Beth, if I may say, we do a section of the show called Funny Video Game News, where newsmakers of the day, talk a little bit about video games instead of talking about what they should be talking about as people that make the news, the people who are in the papers, and people who are up on television doing, supposedly doing important things and working behind the scenes to make sure that places don't fall to pieces.
This show is the show that you're on now. It's a show about video games, and your son produces the show.
And we do. But before we get started with the funny video game news, I did want to. We should probably show the subject of tonight's funny video game news, which is an old Sega Saturn racing game from. I can't remember the name of the developer off the top of my head, but a story developer that I think a lot of people will recognize some of their later work. And the Sega Saturn racing game is called Scorcher. So James, if you can show the trailer for Scorcher, that would be a great. It's not a trailer. This is just what Scorcher looks like. So this is a game from 1997, 1998 now. That's right. And obviously you're scorching along here. The game is a bit rough to look at, but you have to consider that this is a Sega Saturn exclusive game put together by a very talented group of developers who are really pushing the system to its limits as they struggled with the very, I would say, needlessly obtuse hardware that the Sega Saturn was based on. We all know that there's two processors that the game would have to contend with in order to create these landscapes, to create these moments of incredible gameplay. You can see the ball is just there, just scorching like crazy. Just a green thing with a person inside of it falling off the cliff into the bleak nothingness, and just being as scorchingly fast as it can possibly be. So that's Scorcher for the Sega Saturn, and it's the subject of tonight's funny video game news. Beth, are you ready to enjoy to enter the world of funny video game news? James, if you could throw up the splash there. You prepare your funny bone. You are now entering the world of funny video game news. Allan, are you ready to enjoy the funny video game news world of funny video game news?
I am. I love the funny video game news. It's one of my favorite segments that Robbie does.
And are you familiar? And you are familiar, of course, with these 3D Sega Saturn games. Obviously, the most ones that we talk about are Sega Rally, Wipeout, sometimes even Cyber Sled. But a lot of people don't talk about Scorcher much anymore these days, which I think is sad. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important that we do get to the bottom of it and why and how it has ended up in funny video game news tonight, live on twitch.tv/EGI_2 Stream 18 Redo. And this is the second time we've done Stream 18 because Allan was sick last week and we didn't have time we didn't end up having time to talk about the funny video game news because everyone wanted to talk about books.
Did they?
So this is a literary crowd Thank you.
I'm just now noticing the stream chat thing.
Yeah. So if you catch anything on the chat there that jumps out to you, if there's a question that I haven't that I'm not answering because I'm too busy. Prepared. My mind is just is locked. It's like a lockbox, Beth. It's like a impossibly dense safe. One of those old safes with like a big crank on the front. Except the crank's been melted, and all the funny video game news is stuck inside. And there's only one, and it's not Dillinger or any of these other gangsters that are going to blow the safe wide open. No, it's the segment funny video game news.
I'm enjoying the show. Somebody asked me.
Oh, that's great. Hi, Mama Bear. It's Allison. I don't.
That's my daughter.
That's my
Oh,
sister.
Alan, so that's
welcome
the
to
entire
EGI2
brood is upon us.
All right.
Set in their ways in their mission to perhaps to elevate the mother to a level of hilarity, a level of enjoyment, a level of funny video game news that has never been experienced by Beth live on
I can
Twitch.tv.
feel it coming.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
So let's see the first slide here. Prepare your funny bone. Entering world funny video game news. First slide is Scorchers in the funny video game news. Beth, what an interesting game to end up in the funny video game news, Alan.
I was pretty surprised when I cracked open the newspaper. I saw Scorcher was in the news.
It was in the funny video game news.
Yes,
Alan.
it was the funny video game news newspaper.
The funny video game news newspaper, because none other than the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, processing more polygons with full lights. Narendra Modi said processing more polygons with full light sourcing, with more full light sourcing than any PlayStation game released previous to its release. You must see this game in action.
Ooh.
So what's funny about that is that Narendra Modi is the leader of the world's largest democracy. In fact, is in a lot of heat lately because of that Washington Post article about the assassination attempt on a Sikh separatist leader in Brooklyn that was foiled by the feds. So the fact of the matter, what's funny about the funny video game news regarding Scorcher is that here's a guy that's got a fifth of the world's population just hanging on every decision that he makes. And yet, he's got the time to be thinking about these old Sega Saturn racing games like Scorcher.
Beth, do you play video games? Have you played any video games? And what is your favorite video game?
Oh my goodness. I have never played a video game in my life.
You played a game with me one time.
What did I play?
You played Star Wars Battlefront.
Did I?
You tried to play it, and you ended up in a corner, and you couldn't really figure out how to get out of the corner.
That sounds about right.
But you gave it a shot. It's impressive.
That's disappointing, I'm sure. But
No,
absolutely not.
Actually, you'd be surprised. Most people who watch EGI, who are guests on EGI, they've never played a video game, so it's actually quite normal. Because I don't know what he's talking about. Most people.
I just want to point out, Beth, and you do recognize here that it is funny to think that the political leader of the world's largest democracy is sitting up there at whatever in New Delhi and whatever the equivalent of their White House may be, not dealing with the endemic poverty, with the tensions between religious minorities and the Hindu majority, but in fact just sitting there, Narendra Modi just thinking about Scorcher for the Sega Saturn and how at the time the light sourcing engine that it was using was perhaps more advanced than any PlayStation game that came before it, despite the PlayStation being a system with greater processing power and also a greater ease of development.
That's a lot. You said a lot.
And that's the funny video game news.
I'll hit the button.
That's fun. Oh, you want to hit the funny? Okay, that was funny video game. So that's the funny video game news. But we must continue because there is more Scorcher in the funny video game news. Next up, Scorcher is in the funny video game news because none other than the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, is complaining that there's no multiplayer. Which I think is a very funny thing to think about because this is why it's funny, Alan.
The Prime Minister said that? The
Prime Minister of Italy, which is, I believe, the sixth or seventh. It's the sixth or seventh largest economy in the world.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
maybe it's 7th or 8th. Somebody, anybody keeps track of these things in the chat want to fact check that for me. But they're at least the 5th largest economy in Europe. Obviously, going through a great deal of trial as a result of years of overspending on public retirement funds and a underinvestment in the youth of Italy, declining birth rates, a migration crisis as they are on the southern end of the continent,
and
yet she's thinking this game is missing a multiplayer option. The Sega Saturn game from 30 years ago is inadequate, she says, because there is no multiplayer. And she is a controversial figure. I won't deny that as well. She is. I would say there's a story about her and her friends really being obsessed with Lord of the Rings, which I think is an odd choice. So she's. We all contain multitudes, is what I'm trying to say, Beth. And Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, is no exception, as she is drawn away from her responsibilities as the leader of that country to be obsessing over the lack of multiplayer, split-screen multiplayer, or perhaps even online multiplayer for Scorcher on the Sega Saturn.
I have a question for Beth. Have you ever traveled to Italy?
I have.
Oh, okay. So let's hear about that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, it was when James's brother, John, was doing a semester
Studying abroad.
in Florence.
Yeah.
And during spring break that year, the rest of the family went over to see him and
Yeah.
tour Florence. Now, poor James.
Yeah.
We took him knowing that he was coming down with the flu.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
it was not a good thing to do, but we did.
It was not a fun flight.
Yeah, the poor guy.
yeah.
We left him in the B&B
But we were committed to
place
this trip, I guess. You know?
for a couple of days, and they looked after him. But yeah.
That's
Italy,
the power of James, I would say, is even
Right.
if he's quite sick, we want him to be around. No matter
Yes,
what.
we all.
Take
Yeah,
him
even
with
if
us
he's
everywhere,
sick,
no
we
matter
will
what.
push him
Yeah.
past
we
the
just
limits.
couldn't leave him.
Yes.
That's for sure.
In many ways, you can imagine that James was the producer of your family trip to Italy, in the way that he produces this show and also funny video game news. And you can imagine, James, if you had a Sega Saturn hooked up in your hotel or B&B television set, and you had been able to play Scorcher on the Sega Saturn live on twitch.tv/EGI_2, that sickness may have seemed briefer.
And did you allow James as a child to play video games?
That's a good question too. We restricted that quite a bit. They never had a PlayStation at all until
PlayStation 2.
till when?
PlayStation 2.
So before then, you were a Sega family.
I wish, no.
They would go to friends' houses to play, and
Yeah.
we made them read.
This is why I've lashed back and, and now have a
Equalizing.
job, about
Yeah.
this.
Yep, it didn't work.
Aratinga Z says, I have a picture of James eating gelato and looking very sad. Don't we all?
Yeah.
Next up
Send
on...
that picture into electronic
Oh, yeah, please send
information
that
at
to
gmail.com. I'd love to see a picture
Yeah,
of
we'd
James
love to
eating
see a
gelato.
picture of James sad eating gelato in Italy. I will recollect that I spent a very awkward day attempting to sleep on a high-speed train from Milan to Bari. I couldn't afford a ticket to have a seat. I could only stand, and so I was just basically shoved into the luggage racks for the remainder of the trip after they kicked me out of the seat. Next up on funny video game news is, of course, Scorcher is in the funny video game news. What a surprise to see Scorcher. Alan, how's the funny video game news for you this evening?
It's quite funny. I'm shocked that Scorcher is in video game news. I'm interested that so many interesting people are talking about Scorcher when it seems like they have bigger problems.
And that's what's so funny about funny video game news, is because these are people that do have big problems and big responsibilities, and you may not agree with them politically, but you have to admit that having a whole country or perhaps even a large bureaucracy under your supervision is quite a challenge. And so what's funny is to imagine these people that are in the news, these people that make the news, actually, instead of doing their jobs to which they have been elected or sometimes been given through various forms of nepotism or just coups, that they're actually thinking about Sega Saturn games from 30 years ago. So next up in funny video game news, Scorcher is in the news because the floating head of Mitch Landrieu, former mayor of New Orleans, and I forget Allan, what is he doing these days? He's working. He's working for some sort of implementation of some sort of infrastructure.
Yeah, something in infrastructure.
I think he's working on. I think he's supervising some of the disbursement of funds from the infrastructure from the
right. He's
what do they call it? The bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Infrastructure Inflation Reduction Act.
But it's not the whole man. It's just the head. It's just the head of Mitch Landrieu saying from the makers of Subterranea. Say what? Remember, they of course being from New Orleans, they have all those interesting little quips that they're always walking. People always in New Orleans say what?
I'm more curious about
say what?
I'm more curious about hearing stories about James as a child, if I'm being fully honest. Any funny stories about James? I think our audience would love to.
And of course, Montgomery is what, maybe
that.
3 or 4 hours by car to New Orleans.
Yeah, about there. Yeah.
So obviously we can find some copacetic relationship between James and the funny video game news and the floating head of former mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu, whose his sister was recently defenestrated from the Senate in was it a special election, Allan, or was it just a regular cycle election?
That was just a regular cycle.
Thank you, Allan, for that wonderful insight into the world of funny video game news. That's just the head. That's what's also funny.
It's
not his whole body.
Oh, I see it.
So his body is doing. We can assume that his body is actually back in Washington, signing papers and conducting meetings with various members of the Federal Civil Service. So the head is the head is traveling all over the place. So that's hilarious.
Okay. I think I get it.
Pretty funny.
That's why that's funny video game news. Next up in funny video game news, it's Scorcher is back in the funny video game news.
So
we've been focusing on one game. It's much simpler to build a narrative out of these funny video game news segments if you just focus on one game rather than many. So this is people discovering Scorcher. This is people recovering from various long days and long nights where they are dealing with terribly important issues, but finding frivolity and finding some solace in a racing game that came out 30 years ago that nobody played. So in the funny video game news, Scorcher is on people's lips because Secretary of State Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen says, "I finished all 6 tracks." So that's funny for 2 reasons, Beth. And the first reason is that she is the Secretary of the Treasury, and we are dealing with a great deal of hemming and hawing about the inflation situation and also when to raise or lower interest rates, Allan. And obviously the Treasury is not entirely in charge of that whole process. We do have the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, and the Board of Governors, who mostly oversee those decision makings. But we do have Janet Yellen excitedly pronouncing to the press that she finished all 6 tracks in Scorcher. So I believe that you may not agree with her policy positions, you may not agree with everything that she says as a sort of speaking head of the capitalist society in which we live, but for some reason that the completion of those 6 tracks in Scorcher for the Sega Saturn has given her a youthful glow that she will carry with her through her days as a politico and as a expert in her field. Beth.
Good. I see it's a blue youthful glow.
A blue youthful glow. That's the color. Blue is the color of youth. Is what I've always been told, Allan.
All right.
Robbie,
Allan, what are people saying about
how many more funny video game news segments are you going to do?
We're coming to the conclusion of the funny video game news. I do want to check in, Allan, with you, special EGI2 special correspondent Allan Resnick. Check in on the chat. Are people bowled over in the aisles? Are people laughing, clutching their stomachs with the enjoyment of the funny video game news segment that we have here live on twitch.tv/EGI_2?
It looks like people are very excited about funny video game news. They're having a wonderful time. Sound up in the chat if you have any questions for Beth. And I think people are noticing, Robbie, you have some mixed nuts on your desk.
Oh, Beth, are you? you fly in? Did they give you? A lot of flights these days don't give you nuts anymore, Allan, because there's a great deal of nut allergies, and so you get pretzels, and sometimes you get biscotti.
We got sun chips.
Oh my God.
Oh.
That was good.
I love it.
So
That's great.
That's
so
fun.
that was
It looked like
those
one
were
of those.
snakes.
Yep.
I mean, they were fake snakes.
Right.
So next up in the funny video game news, Scorcher is in the funny video game news because you guessed it. You hate to see it, but it seems to happen with almost a routine, Allan. That this newsmaker ends up in the funny video game news with his oftentimes confusing and inappropriate comments on the funny video game news.
Okay.
And that man is a man of great political strength and a great purview in his respective country.
Oh.
And that man is Secretary of State for Leveling Up, Housing and Communities, Michael Gove, who's taken a look at one look at Scorcher for the Sega Saturn and says terminal velocity.
I don't get that.
Exactly, and that's what's so funny about it, Allan, because Michael Gove, as problematic as an individual as he may be for his involvement in the Brexit catastrophe, for his various underhanded comments towards his own prime ministers, he takes one look at this classic and hard-won 3D Sega Saturn game, Allan. And not only does he get the name wrong, but he gets the genre wrong and the platform. So he looks at Scorcher, and look, can we see Scorcher again? Can we see the video of Scorcher, James? That would be if we could just see that for a second. I just want you to put your Michael Gove face on, and take a look at Scorcher and see and tell me what you see when you see. Do you see a 3D shoot 'em up? Sort of almost like a gradient, but from a lower perspective in a 3D environment. Developed by 3D Realms, published by Apogee for the PC. Allan?
I just look at a traditional ball game with an extra red ball.
Very, very.
Brett66 says Gove has been fox hunting once or twice in his life, for sure. And I don't know if that's true, but I know that one thing is true is that that's not. Oh, get the Michael Gove slide up again, please. That's not terminal velocity. That's Scorcher.
Is Terminal Velocity a game?
Terminal Velocity is a PC game developed by the people that made Duke Nukem 3D, Blood, for the which are both first-person shooters using the build engine. And Terminal Velocity, I think, also uses the build engine, but is not, in fact, a first-person shooter, but a third-person space combat game, but mostly takes place on the ground.
But maybe the build engine, maybe you got confused by the build engine.
Do you think that Scorcher wasn't made? But Scorcher is made by the people that were responsible for, believe it or not, Subterranea and Red Zone on the Sega Genesis.
Beth, this is what the show is always like. He always this is the 18th episode we've done. He always does funny video game news.
Not always.
Most 17 out of 18 episodes he's done funny video game news. I don't quite get it.
But it is funny to imagine that these newsmakers, that these people that haunt the corridors of political power, not just in our country, but in countries across this great planet of ours.
What's your source for all that?
What's the source? You know what happens, Beth? Is that I lay awake at night. I stare at the ceiling, and I think of a game from my childhood that perhaps young adulthood, before I had children, and I think of that game and I think nobody talks about this game anymore. And then I think to myself, well, who's in the news lately? Who's been causing a lot of a ruckus? So Narendra Modi, obviously, there's that Washington Post exploration of his whole assassination, his secret police's attempt to assassinate separatist leaders in other countries in Canada and the U.S.
Okay.
And I think, well, wouldn't it be funny if that was the person that was talking about it?
Oh.
And then I laughed to myself. I laughed myself asleep. That's funny video game.
That's your source. Okay.
Can we see it? I just want, because I want to just say something.
That guy looks funny.
Oh, well, that's Michael. Well, he is funny. That's why he's one of the reasons why he's into funny video game news so much is because he's such a ridiculous-looking man.
Puppy mouth or puffy mouth, somebody said.
Well,
No, that's who they are.
But let's not get them off the hook. Just because you got a funny cartoon face doesn't mean you can't do a great deal of damage to your country as a result of wielding power improperly. And we have a clip of Subterranea, don't we, James? Just because I wanted people to understand that.
Let's see.
The people that made Scorcher on the Sega Saturn had to work so damn hard to get that 3D engine to look the way that it did. And obviously they spent so much time developing the custom engine for the game itself that it is so impressive to look at, but they didn't have enough time to just finish the rest of the tracks or the multiplayer.
What is my scene? What is this?
So this is Subterranea on the Sega Genesis.
Ah.
And this is one of the games that they developed on a much on the Sega Genesis. It was this game and the Red Zone, which we've talked a lot about on the show.
What's that red ball?
That's the label. That's how you know it's an EGI2 exclusive, because no one else is talking about this. No one else is talking about the relationship between Scorcher on the Sega Saturn, Terminal Velocity, Michael Gove, Narendra Modi, the Washington Post, and now Subterranea on the Sega Genesis.
It's about time they did.
And a lot of people
It's
don't.
true,
And this
yeah.
is and, you know, the company that I think Zernex, was it Zernex, Allan?
Yes, it was.
Zernex, the company that developed these suckers, they broke apart. They all got, a lot of them got blown out of the water by the fact that Scorcher was such a disappointment in terms of making its money back, the amount of time and finances that went into its development.
And isn't it interesting that so many people online are spending their time watching EGI2 and Robbie talk about this?
It is.
And it's also important to say that
Amazing.
the people that lasted, the people that kept with the games industry, that weren't totally blown out of the water by their disappointments, they went on to found with other people from the industry, other disappointed folks, the company known as IO Interactive, maker of the Hitman games. So next up, Allan, we do have a special report from EGI2 special correspondent Allan Resnick on what was it, Allan? Resident Evil 8: The Village. Resident Evil 8: The Village, of course, being the most recently published complete new entry in the Resident Evil, long-running Resident Evil series that we all remember so fondly from our youths.
Yes.
Up until now, when we are no longer youths. Except for the ones of us that are youths and are now experiencing many of these games for the first time, oftentimes with the Resident Evil 2 and 3 and 4 now remakes. Isn't it interesting that that's their first experience and not the more, I would say, the rougher edged versions of these stories?
I was very shocked when Robbie asked. He always asks me to do these special reports on video games, and they're usually these video games that I've never heard of that are bad. People don't like these. These are old games that are not fun. They're not fun to play. They're ugly games. Nobody likes them, but he asked me to talk about them, so I do these deep dive research. And so he recently, he seems to be gargling. He recently asked me to do a special report on a game called Resident Evil Village. I've never heard of this game, and I looked at, and this is an incredible game. So I'll just, standing among in the annals of history of the finest video games I've ever made, towering high above the player is something called Resnick. Towering high. This is it. Robbie, I don't feel I feel like maybe tonight I should not read the review. I don't quite feel comfortable.
Well, it's not a review. It's
not a review. I don't feel like. I would like to revise my report and maybe. I don't feel like tonight is a good night for me to talk about Resident Evil Village.
And we talked, and Beth, we did talk about the Beth that I had once dated, lived with briefly, in some ways sadly. And I just want to point out that she became a art therapist, and I do this for a living. So
she just missed out, didn't she?
Take from that what you will. She is a good person, and she got to be, and she became a better person. And which is the kind of growth that we can all only hope to achieve in our lives.
Good to know.
Allan?
I love you, Robbie.
I love you too, Allan. And I also love Resident Evil 8 The Village, so let's hear the report.
Robbie, I also love Resident Evil 8 The Village. It is very interesting game. I will not be speaking on that topic publicly tonight for reasons of decency and just I just don't feel like it is my I just don't feel like I should be talking about that. Back to you, Robbie.
But if you were doing the report, what
Robbie,
what's the issue, Allan?
I'll tell you. I'll give you the report off air.
Allan, we're all adults here. We've all lived quite full lives. We can all understand. We can all express ourselves comfortably and openly. Don't use any curse words.
I wasn't going to curse
because and Beth, I want to just point out one of the things that we do strive for is keeping things pretty PG here on EGI2. Twitch.tv/EGI_2. We all like to swim in the lake, and we don't like it when trees fall down and then become logs, and then the logs roll into the lake, crowding all the swimming out. Because we all want to swim comfortably, Allan.
And on that note, in the spirit of keeping EGI clean, keeping the lake clean,
keeping the lake log free,
I feel like this game it would be wrong for me to speak publicly about this game now. It's a wonderful game, and it is a gift. It is a gift that I give myself, but I'm not publicly. I would like to publicly keep the gift to myself, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Allan. And obviously, there's. I want your gift. I want you to give me the gift, Allan.
Another time. Back to you, Robbie. I'm putting my foot down.
Back to you, Allan. And that was Allan Resnick's special report on Resident Evil 8 The Village, a first-person horror action game where a man who is also a mushroom goes into a place and just blows it to hell for 12 hours. Thank you for that. Next up, we have...
Do we want to take a break?
We should probably let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to do Screenshot You Guess Now.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem. Here. Do you want to throw it a break?
Oh. Well, Allan? Wasn't that wonderful? We had an actual mom here on the show tonight.
That is okay. So this is EGI first. This is the first time we ever had a mother, a real mother, on EGI too. So that's pretty exciting.
We've had father.
I don't think so.
We've had father. Yes, we do have to say we had to bid goodbye to Beth. Unfortunately, the emotional weight of having someone who had the same name of an ex-girlfriend of mine was too great for me, and she also just had flown in from Alabama, and this was the first thing that she did after getting off the plane. So it was probably a kinder bit of exercise to allow her to have a good rest, so that she can actually enjoy her visit with her son James, our producer, who is now walking her to the car. So that is a good boy. He's a great boy. He's a good boy. He's our boy and her boy. He's all of our boy. He's James Trevor, and he is walking his mother to the car. And thank you for all your generosity, and thank you for being such a welcoming community to James's mother, Beth. Allan?
It would just be the idea of giving birth to James is quite a powerful image, and I could imagine how proud I would be to give birth to a little James.
And if you think about all the rap that's happened in the world and all of the things that people have created through that genre of music, art and music, I think that you could say they are both things at the same time. I often wonder about what it would be like to go through that whole process, through the process of becoming a vessel for a little James, or perhaps even a little Allan.
I would love if Robbie gave birth to me, a little me.
It would have to be a little you, Allan, because the aperture. I'm just saying, there's not a lot of stretching that can occur, but
that's okay, because it could just be a little me.
It would be a little you, and then I would have two Allans. I'd have Allan, EGI2 special correspondent, Allan Resnick, and then I would have my son, the tiny little thumbtack-sized Allan Resnick that could follow me around on various adventures and perhaps tell me secrets about the hidden world. And I would be very jealous of the little Allan, I think, because I would want me, Allan Prime. I'm Allan Prime to be Robbie's. Because I do love Robbie like a father. I would love to biologically be the son of Robbie. I would be so jealous of little Allan. I'd probably try to catch him or step on him. You wouldn't want to catch him or step on him, and he would always get away from you, because when you're that small, when you're that when you have all of that energy in that tiny little body, you can actually make movements that are quite fast. If you ever try to catch a mouse running around in your kitchen with your own hands? I tried to catch a cat. You tried to catch a cat, but a cat's the size of what, 2 or 3 mice? It depends on the cat. 2 or 3, or depends on the mouse, or the cat. Depends on the mouse. But I'm saying, like, this is a little thumbtack-sized Allan, and that guy is bursting with energy. So James is back. Welcome back, James. So what you missed while you were walking your wonderful mother back to her car is we're talking about, what if Robbie gave birth to a tiny little Allan?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And it would be small because of what Robbie described as the aperture of the hole.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, so, thank you for waiting until she was gone to start this conversation. I appreciate that.
We obviously, I mean, this is like a locker room now. This is like a boys' locker room, right, Allan? It's just boy talk. Just boy talk. This is what boys talk about. I often think about this. I watched the whole thing. I watched a woman give birth. I watched my wife give birth to my son, not Allan. To little Allan. Not to little Allan. To little Robbie. I mean, he's not little Robbie. He's little. He's got his own. He's got his own damn name. Oh. But I was saying, I watched that whole thing play out. Allan. See, here's the thing, Allan. This is the weirdest thing. This is the weirdest thing about pregnancies. Is that Katie and I had been together for so long, and we knew each other so well, and I felt in many ways we were copacetic. We fit together. We made sense with each other. Sense S-E-N-S-E. Sense. We made sense with each other. And I would say that it felt like we were two brains in the same body. Does that make sense? That's how I feel with you. And so for us to take that whole relationship and expand on it required one of us to go through what I can only describe as a mutation.
Go on.
And that mutation turns the person that you think you know so well, because their body just starts filling up with all these chemicals. And that person, and then all of a sudden, that person can't do as much anymore, for at least for a time.
For 9 days.
Well, evolutionarily speaking, a great deal longer than that. Although it was actually longer than 9 months, as far as we know. You don't really know when it starts. That's the weird thing about pregnancy. Anyway, you watch this person go through something like this, and you think you know them so well, and all of a sudden they just become just like a big mutant.
I don't think you're supposed to say that.
Anyway, I just wonder. I wonder about. I would love to have understood that whole process for myself a little bit better.
I hope.
So what I'm hoping
is that you experience it when you make little Allan.
And again, the things that little Allan could tell me.
What I think is so funny about little Allan, and cracks me up just thinking about him, is his voice. Would probably, because of his scale and the scale of you and your ear, and the size of you to Allan, he'd probably be saying like, "Hey," this is an example. He'd look up, he'd see Robbie, and he'd say, "Hey, Robbie," or he'd call you Dad. "Hey, Daddy."
Right.
He'd say, "Hey, Daddy, what game should we play today?" And you'd play games together. But to you, because he's so small to fit through the aperture, it would sound like a bug.
Right.
And
like a little crazy bug.
Like a little crazy bug, and you would have the fatherly instinct to crush the bug, but you wouldn't, because you know that's actually
my boy, is what I would say. I would say you're my boy. You sit over here, because I don't want to accidentally have one of those things where you know when you're playing a game like Resident Evil 8 The Village, and you start dodging things and moving your arms and legs to kind of avoid being bit by a werewolf person, because they're not real werewolves, are they?
They're just graphics, right?
Right.
They're not real.
So if you think about that, you'd probably want I would want little tiny mini the little Allan, the little bitty Allan. I'd want him to sit maybe on my shoulder, so he'd be able to. He could tell me what to do, and we could play real-time strategy games, and he could tell me where to put the harvesters and the various shops for upgrading all of your tanks.
I could do that too, though, Robbie. We could just play. I could play a game with you. I could sit with you. I could sit in the guest chair that Beth was sitting in, and I could sit with you, and we could play games. And we could stream it, or just do it for you and I. Or I could sit on your shoulder or your lap. I would do that.
But I think what I want to say about the little bitty Allan is that the things that he could get into when I was asleep are quite not only comical but pretty interesting to think about. He could go inside of little tunnels that we don't know about, and he could find other little people, maybe other little replicants of other people that we know, maybe like a little James or a little Beth. Both Beths. Maybe my ex-girlfriend, Beth, the art therapy teacher, could have developed some sort of a weird miniature version of herself, and then you could have a conversation, the little bitty version of you, which is a separate. I want to just point out that it's separate. It's not your mind.
It's a real little.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
That's your son, but he's me. But it is me. He's dressed the same.
So then that one could talk about all of the good things that I've tried to do with my life, and that even though we had such a terrible breakup,
we didn't break up.
That Beth and I had such a terrible breakup. That I've made strides. I've tried to become a better person.
Not James's mom.
Not James's mom, Beth.
Let's clarify that.
Let's clarify that. Beth and I, even though we both have family in Alabama, doesn't mean that we are part of the same brood. No, we're talking about a different person that possibly, in this scenario, has made another mini version of themselves through the process of replication. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the little bitty version of Allan came to be.
Not very smart. 113 says, "What if little Allan made a little Robbie?" So that.
What if now that would be, because then they could go.
That'd be so small though.
They would be very small.
The aperture would naturally shrink so that the little
Yes.
Allan's aperture would be almost microscopic.
So I'm a good 2 or 3 heads taller than you, Allan.
So we might not even
you can
know.
imagine the
We might not
aperture
even know.
is probably almost like the. Ooh, I mean, you can't imagine. I mean, we're talking about just like if you put a thumbtack in a wall.
Yeah, so there's a chance if little Allan made a little Robbie, it'd be so small, we wouldn't even know that it happened.
We wouldn't even know, but we do need to. What we do know is that it is time to play the game that we've all been waiting for. Screenshot. You guess now.
Yay!
Caller, you're on the air with Screenshot. You guess now. Are you ready? Are you prepared to play Screenshot? You guess now live on Twitch.tv/EDI_2.
I sure am, Robbie.
Are you? You got your brain prepared? You've got the little version of you or your or a dear friend or a loved one sitting on your shoulder, watching this whole thing unfold. I hope.
There's just the one of me.
Just the one of you.
No aperture.
So I haven't figured out exactly how that whole process works yet, and that's all right because we've just been talking about it as a result of what Mr. Rogers said a long time ago is something about imagination and how you have to imagine something before you do the thing.
Exactly. It's still in the
So
theoretical.
I think that applies here, but this is Screenshot. You guess now.
All right, I've clicked the button. I cannot see the chat.
Can't see the chat. We've got and I just want to say that we do actually have. Can we see the Screenshot You Guess Now leaderboard, please? Just for a second, just so we know that there is a leaderboard. And the leader, I couldn't remember how many people had guessed what games or when the guesses happened, but I do remember that these 3 people, including EGI2 special correspondent Allan Resnick,
I'm winning.
did guess a Screenshot You Guess Now. Correctly guessed. You guessed the correct screenshot, Allan. So you're up there with Mossy Lump and Visk, and hopefully, once we get a little bit of a great of a handle on what it is we're doing here on Screenshot You Guess Now, then other names will be added to the Screenshot You Guess Now leaderboard. The numbers will change. The numbers will go up. I don't think the numbers can actually go down, but the rankings could go up or down.
You can't take it away.
And they're all number 1.
And you can't take it with you.
Scampy Vance Mossy is number 1. Visk is number 1, and Allan Resnick is number 1. Screenshot You Guess Now. That's what we're looking at. That's the leaderboard.
We
have one correct guess for each of them, so they're all tied for first place. But it's a dynamic situation. It's going to change from week to week. The leaderboard is here. Downloaded a great deal of new fonts.
Wow. I like my font the best. Who's on the phone?
Yeah, who is this? And who are you calling for? What are you calling for? You calling for Screenshot You Guess Now?
Yep. Streammate tuning in, Geo again, here for You Guess Now, ready to roll the dice and look at the screen and guess the shot.
All right, so first screenshot of the evening is for Geo. Geo from Texas is playing Screenshot Scrum. You Guess Now. First screen.
Wow.
You Guess Now.
I'm not going to look at the chat either, just in case I have to guess. What is that? Show that.
Gio, do you see the screen?
Yep, just came up.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
That was video game.
There it is. What is that?
Screenshot You Guess Now.
Yeah, no, I had the screenshot for a second.
Gio, tell us when it comes up for you. You got to tell us what you're looking at and tell us what you're thinking. You got to.
I got it. I see.
The way that we're going to keep this thing dynamic and moving is that you got to tell us what you guess now.
Yeah. Okay. I want to say it's got to be like PlayStation era graphics, but I don't recognize the game. I want to say.
Well, you got to look at the whole screenshot before you guess now, and tell us and dictate what you're seeing and what each.
You missed it. It shot money.
It shot money. We got to try to get that again.
Thank you, Cody Fancy Pants.
Before you guess now.
Play by play. We have some teeth. We have a mouth, and in the background we have some landscaping, some pillars or cylinders of green stone.
What is that?
In a valley that is also made of cylinders.
Valley of Cylinders, and Gio from Texas. I want to give you a bit of a leg up, which is that somebody was talking about this game in the chat earlier this evening.
But don't look at the chat now.
At the bottom of the screen, it looks like we may be pointing a gun at the creature.
Yep. So interesting. So you're saying that there's a green, simple polygonal creature with a gun pointed at it in a surrounded by high cylindrical rocks.
Okay. Noted.
I'm gonna have to be honest and pass on this one. I'm not gonna.
You want to just take a random guess? I feel like you're close. I feel like it's on the tip of your tongue, Gio from Texas.
Is it Turok 2?
It is not Turok 2, but that was a great guess.
That was good.
That was an excellent guess because it is in fact Turok 1.
Oh God.
Turok 1. Oh.
Damn it.
I felt the shudder of disappointment in you, Gio, but perhaps that you can use that power, that you can use that as a kind of an accelerator to your power to match the energy that is in your body as a young Texan. You can push that energy into your brain, and for next screenshot you guess now, you can get on the board.
I hope you're not in a dark place, because if you're in a dark place and you get so close to winning something and feel such a disappointment, that could turn bad quick. Back to you.
Back to you, Gio. And how are you feeling right now?
That could absolutely push you over the edge. But you know what? I went into it knowing I was rolling the dice. If it's going to be a long shot.
That's the right answer.
And I just want to say that Gio from Texas, that was one of the best informed guesses I think that anyone has made on Screenshot You Guess Now.
It's an educated guess, but why did you say 2? Why didn't you say Turok 1? Damn it.
If it was 2, you would have seen a lot more fog.
Yeah, I thought Turok 1 was earlier than that.
Well, it is earlier than that.
That's why it looked so bad.
It's why it's got a 1 and not the 2.
Okay.
All right, try again.
Gio from Texas, thank you so much for your call. Better luck next time. I know your mind. I know you're going to get on the board someday. But we do have to go to the next call, and we do have to hit hit the next slide button on Screenshot You Guess Now. So caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? Are you ready to play Screenshot You Guess Now?
Where is that? California. I'm hoping we don't get another screenshot of a bad graphics barrel, but I'm ready to try to get.
Don't look at the chat. Look at the.
Yeah, don't look at. You can't look at the chat. You got to look at the. You got to look in. You got to look at the screen. And you got to look in your heart. You got to open up and draw some energy from your thrusters to your force field. If that makes any sense.
Is that a clue?
It's not a clue. It's just something I had to do recently because I started playing. I was playing Star Wars Squadrons.
And James's mom Beth played Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh yeah, that was pretty interesting. So there was some there's some shield management in Star Wars Battlefront, isn't there, caller?
Maybe we'll get Beth back.
I missed the name of the caller. I know I heard California, but we've got a couple of callers from California. I just want to make sure I get the right one.
It's Alex.
Alex from California. Screenshot You Guess Now.
So taking a closer look at this, it looks to be like a hand. I'm going to assume it is. Actually, in kind of getting my way there, is this a PS2 game? Is my first.
Well, I'm not gonna. I can't tell you. I won't tell. We gave a big. This. I feel like this is a screenshot that can be deconstructed a little bit easier than the previous one. I gave Gio a little bit of a leg up because I was feeling generous, but I do feel like this is something that the EGI2 community should appreciate. A game that EGI2 community should appreciate, and You Guess Now.
Okay, my guess is Okami?
You got it.
No.
Alex from California, you're on the board. Your name is going to be up on the board for EGI, the next EGI2 stream. So make sure to send your preferred avatar to us so that we can put you up on. You're tied for first place with Mozzie Lump, Visk, and EGI2 special correspondent Allan Resnick. How does it feel?
Oh, this is great. Oh man, this is a step up.
So remember, one of the main reasons that Visc and Mossy-Lump are on here is because they remembered to send in their avatars. So you got to make sure to send your avatar to electronicgameinformation@gmail.com.
For sure. Back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Alex, California. Have a wonderful night. Let the clouds carry you across the streets of the dead and the dying, of the people, the shades, and the corners in which they reside.
And hopefully not the criminals. Thank you.
People are asking about the phone number on the chat. In the chat, so make sure that they see the phone number in the chat if we can. But we also do have to get our next caller coming in right now. Screenshot, are you ready? Who are you? Where are you calling from? Are you ready to play Screenshot You Guess Now?
Wow, holy crow.
Holy crow.
Guy, congratulations.
Gee whiz. All right.
Cody from Florida.
Cody from Florida, you're loud as hell tonight, but that's all right because you've earned it. If you've made it this far in life, having come from that terrible, terrible muck of a place, then I believe that you have earned the volume to which you have been gifted by the soundboard.
Am I better now?
You're a lot better now, Cody. Are you ready to play Screenshot You Guess Now?
I suppose so.
All right. The first up is next up. So we had Turok, we got Okami, and what do we got this? Screenshot You Guess Now.
Don't look at the chat.
Don't look at the chat, Cody. I know I can trust you, but you can't look at that damn. It's not. Well, you saw Okami, obviously. We all.
Come on. Careful.
Oh no.
So we got to look at this.
God.
This was actually this was one I've been excited to show for a long time because I think this is one of the best screenshots I've ever taken.
You took that?
I took this screenshot. I was playing this game and I saw this happen and I said, "Dang, that's a good screenshot." And now Cody from Florida, you guess now.
I mean, I guess I'm so. I have one. I can only go with my kamikaze answer right now. I know it's not going to be the right one, but it's the only one I can go with.
Well, let me tell you something about the kamikaze, Cody from Florida. The pilots, they came from they came from a great deal. They came from a school of learning. They were learned. They were warrior poets. They were men. They were men of honor. I don't think there were any female kamikaze.
Are you
pilots.
condoning?
I just want to say that, Cody, even if you crash your plane into the carrier of Screenshot You Guess Now, that you will be remembered properly.
Don't do that.
So I'm going down in the name of the Emperor, and I'm gonna say it's from Blasphemous. Is that Screenshot from Blasphemous?
From what? What was the one? What did you say?
Blasphemous.
Blasphemous. No, I'm afraid not, Cody.
It's like
I know what blasphemous is, Cody. And it was a good guess, but it's incorrect. And in fact, I want to give I want to give you one more shot.
Okay. Can I get any sort of? Can you even like nudge me in the correct direction?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's not blasphemous. Or Blasphemous 2.
Well, I guess.
Or Valfaris.
Is it okay? So that looks like one of the tokens from the Pokemon trading card Game Boy Color game. Is it one of the gym badges from the Pokemon trading card Game Boy Color game?
Cody, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask you to return to the swamp or stormwater canals or retaining ponds from whence you came to spend your evening just bashing on the tops of the heads of the alligators as they try to bite your legs off. The snakes fall from the ceilings or the treetops as they caress your skin with their snake bodies in the hopes of drawing you deeper and deeper into the magical realist nightmare, the Karen Russell-esque nightmare of that.
I should have never even called in.
Big mistake.
I'm doing myself a disservice tonight.
To say that one punches the ticket on their way, punches multiple tickets on their way to hell, is a way of also reminding you that a lot of times the tickets have no resale value when the tickets come from the extremity, the bastard extremity of these United States that is the state in which you live.
Better luck next time.
I'm just gonna get comfy, and I'm just gonna think about what I did tonight. And I'm just gonna.
Don't call back.
Don't call back,
call
Cody.
back.
You're because I know that when the next time that Cody from Florida calls back, he's gonna have had one of those evil demon, one of those evil spirit snakes.
What, Robbie? What do you win?
What do you win? You get to be on the leaderboard, Allan. You get to have your little avatar next to your name, and then I'll give you, I'll use as many fonts as I can find, and then that person, and then you got a number for how many screenshot you guess now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question.
Caller,
and when Cody from Florida, I just want to finish the thought, because Cody from Florida calls back. We know that the voice may be his, but the mind may be the reptile mind. Screenshot you guess now, caller. You're on the air with screenshot you guess now. We're gonna keep it on this one because I think we were pretty far off the mark. Perhaps not as far as we think that we were.
Yeah.
Caller, who are you? Who are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm Connor. I'm calling from Canada.
Caller from Kansas?
Yeah.
The great state of Kansas, torn apart.
Say your name.
Torn apart by those twisters that burn a scar of destruction throughout the fields and the fanes.
Did you say your name was Connor?
Yeah.
Connor.
What's up?
Hello. Hello.
Connor from Kansas. Screenshot you guess now.
I love Turok 2. Just waiting for the picture to come up here. Okay?
Well, it's not Turok 2, I can promise you that, because we had Turok 1, and we gave that one away. I probably should have waited a little bit to let somebody else try to get a guess at it. Yeah. But this is a screenshot you guess now.
Hold on, we're on a bit of a delay here.
There's a great song about Kansas.
Same one.
The same song?
I'm gonna.
Same one.
I have to lock in with Turok 2.
Bruce Springsteen sang about Kansas, didn't he, Allan?
Bruce Springsteen, the boss.
The boss. And unfortunately, Connor from Kansas, you are not the boss. In fact, you're fired. Because it is not Turok 2.
Did you come up
and
with
we're
that?
I did. I came up with that one just for Turok, just for
Connor.
Just for Connor.
I like that. You're fired.
Whose name isn't Connor? Isn't the real name of Turok Connor?
Is the real name of Turok Connor?
It is.
What does that mean?
Back to you, Allan.
Back to you, Allan. Back to you, Connor. Stay safe. Don't. If you see a funnel in the sky, run to the basement. Bring your family and your dog and your perishables, because you could be down there for a few hours and you might get hungry and you don't want to go up to the ground level where you could get flung into oblivion by these things. It's Altered Beast. Okay, so next up we're another screenshot because that was Altered Beast and I got sick of looking at it. Caller, you're on the air with EGI2. Screenshot you guess now. Who are you? Where are you calling from? Screenshot you guess now.
Hey, it's Visk. How you doing?
Visk.
I know it.
Back.
I know it.
He sniffs blood in the water.
I know the answer.
I know you know the answer, but it's Visk.
You know I know?
Actually, if Allan wants the answer first, I'll let him do that.
Oh, Allan.
Well,
Interesting. This is an a friend of my friend, enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I'm competitive with this because this started on the leaderboard, right?
You guys are tied on the leaderboard now with Alex from California.
I could. Do you know the answer, Visk?
I don't actually at the moment. It's drawing a blank on me. But if you know it, I'm gonna
take a guess.
Give it to you, honestly.
You get the first guess, and then I'll.
Can I see it again, please?
Yes. Screenshot you guess now.
I'm on a delay, so give me 1 second.
And this is Visk on the leaderboard.
Okay, it's that face.
It is a face. And what is the face?
It looks like a mischievous face.
Oh, and somebody, I was just reading a story the other day about a person who goes into a shop and buys a mask, and the mask fits right on his face, but then later in the story, the mask doesn't fit on his face anymore because somehow the mask has erased his face.
That's quite a scary story.
Huh, I've heard that story before, but I've heard a couple of those stories actually.
This, you got it, but we can't tarry long.
I'm gonna try Majora's Mask.
What?
Is it Majora's Mask?
What the hell? No.
No.
That's nuts.
May
what are you talking about?
I would like to.
Fisk, I expected better from you. I gotta be honest. I know you're a troubled youngster. I know you've got your demons. Come on.
Robbie, you're gonna like
Allan,
my story about
Allan,
this.
Fisk has fallen from grace, but Fisk, I want you to stay on the line because I want you to see what happens when someone sees a screenshot and they guess now.
I want Visk to bear witness to what I do next. But before I say the answer, I want to tell Robbie a story about this screenshot, about this game that he'll appreciate. Because I played this game. This is a game I played. And Robbie, I played this game on an Amtrak train going across the country on your recommendation. Not the game. Robbie loves these.
Well, I probably would have recommended the game as well.
You probably would have. Robbie recommended the train trip, and I brought along the Switch, and I said, I'm going to play a little game called Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, the remastered on the Switch.
Well, it wasn't a remaster. It was a full rebuilding.
And this was one of the boss battles. I remember it. It scared the hell out of me because it was at night in the sleeper car. I was eating microwave cod.
Yum yum yum.
So did I get it? And do I get to move?
Allan, you are actually, because you have guessed 2 screenshot you guess nows, you get to move up to the first place, and everyone else is tied for second.
I do love it, and winning is its own reward. It's an honor just to be nominated, but I do feel a swelling of sort of insane energy from the thrill I got from moving from tied to first place. And if someone knocks me off my pedestal, I will retaliate.
Visk, how do you like them apples?
It was one of 3 Zeldas I have not played.
Well, you play it; it's fun.
You got at least a week to finish every other one in case we dive into that whole series. And I think it's a genre unto itself, a subgenre.
Can you update the graphic now?
Next, Visk, thank you for your attempt. It was the wrong attempt, and you paid dearly for it. But unfortunately, we do have to let you go and move on to the next caller.
Right. Bye bye.
Thanks for taking the call, though.
What a sticky wicket. Caller, you're on the air with EGI2's screenshot. You guess now. Screenshot. You guess now.
No, I already did that one.
Oh, we already did this one. Caller, you're on the air with. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Catherine from Philly.
Catherine from Philly. Screenshot. You guess now.
Okay, let me look.
And tell me what. And remember to. And I will remind you, Catherine from Philly, to describe what you're looking at and how your thoughts are coming to you as you see the thing that you are seeing.
Good luck.
Well, first off, I can tell you immediately that this is a Nintendo Switch. The last one had indicators of that as well, although I didn't know that game. I was happy to learn that Link's Awakening. I was happy to learn about Allan's story.
It's the soft bloom. It's the kind of fuzzy edges.
Best of luck.
Yeah, it's the lack of anti-aliasing. You can tell that it's like an unstable 25 FPS. I think this is Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo Switch.
Screenshot, you guess now. You did it.
Damn.
Catherine from Philly, you're on the board. So
I knew it too.
So if we can see the leaderboard that as it stands now only has
Allan,
3.
I believe that you knew it also. I believe you.
And I will say that Allan, one birthday a couple of years ago, Allan texted me and he said, "I'm at a GameStop. What do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "Pokemon Snap." And he said, "Okay." And then he got it for me. And so that is a little bit of a reason why, when I picture a little bitty person coming out of my urethra, it is Allan.
Happy birthday!
Beautiful.
And happy birthday to you, Robbie.
And happy birthday to you,
Happy
Catherine
birthday,
from
Tiny
Philly,
Allan.
and congratulations on your you guessed right, you guessed now. You guessed right,
Thank
you guessed now.
I'd like to thank the chat. I didn't look at the chat, but I just want to thank them for their energy.
It's
for
a
their
supportive
power,
group,
for
and
their
there's a lot of support that needs to happen because there's a lot of tearing down that happens in this game. This is a nasty business. We're nasty people when it comes to Screenshot You Guess Now.
I'm in it to win it.
You got to be nasty.
We're not here to make friends. We're here to guess. I take the screenshots, and you better guess the screenshots. Otherwise, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, it's worth that. Hey, Alan, any update on the Drake photos that you were looking at before?
I did find some interesting photos of Drake online. And if you just
Okay.
Google Drake bed, you'll find these photos.
And he's got two guns, and he holds them out like this, and then they kind of go they go in and out really fast because they didn't have enough money to rig the characters properly.
Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much, and congratulations for getting on the board. So we have 2 people on the board, new people on the board. We've got Catherine from Philly, we've got Alex from California, and Allan has taken the lead with 2 guess nows.
Good luck.
Caller, you're on the air with Screenshot You Guess Now. Are you ready to play Screenshot You Guess Now?
Yes.
Ooh, the audio quality is outstanding wherever you're
Sounds like
calling
the caller
from.
is in the room.
It's
with
like
us
you're
today.
calling from one of those old phone booths in the Congress.
Calling from Baltimore.
Who is it?
This is a Sleeve from Baltimore.
Sleeve from Baltimore. What's the good news from Baltimore these days?
The city that reads.
The greatest city in America.
Yes. Yeah. True. The news is all good.
It's never a bad day in Baltimore. Nothing. Famously, they say when you step off the train onto the platform of Penn Station, you're handed various gewgaws that inspire a good feeling, a great deal of happiness. The mayor is there, and it's a he now. Brandon Scott hands you just a bunch of coupons so you can go to Chipotle or one of the Indian buffets on Charles Street. It's a great city. It's the greatest city in America.
And how's that bridge?
Oh, we don't talk.
We don't have time to talk about bridges because we have to guess Screenshot. You guess now. Sleeve from Baltimore.
Okay. Let me close the chat.
Don't look at it.
You know what? Oh man, you done me dirty.
I did. This is it is not a. I'm not going to say this isn't Baltimore. This ain't some angelic place of hybrid human seraphim singing choruses.
Human seraphim singing choruses.
Well, because the churches in Baltimore have such high ceilings that the angels can. It was said in times past that the angels would come into the church and they would sing with the humans in the choir.
And the birds. The birds.
Well, there was what there was. Well, this is a bird that I'm gonna say doesn't get very lucky very often, and that is the only hint that you're gonna get.
It looks like you're gonna shoot the bird from.
From the bird from.
The bird from this game, which is.
Good luck.
I have literally no idea, so I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
Criminy. So you're from Baltimore. You gotta make a guess.
I have to.
You can't call in. You can't tell us all these wonderful things about the greatest city in America.
The city that reads.
The city that reads. You gotta give us something.
Okay, how about maybe
What happened?
I don't know. There was a lot of things happening all at once.
Oh shit.
What happened? What's going on?
Just any game, Sleeve. Any game at all. Just
Okay.
it comes to just speak from the heart. Tell us what you're looking at, and just make a guess.
Was that
Call
rap?
of Duty?
Call of Duty? Which one?
Zombie invasions. Call of Duties.
That's incorrect, Sleep from Baltimore. In fact, what I would say to you is to go down to the courthouse there on Calvert Street and turn yourself into the judge, because you're headed to the big house tonight, and it's going to be a rotten evening where they're not going to let you sleep because of all the reading that's going to happen inside the central jail.
Have you seen the show The Wire?
Sleep, thank you so much for your call, and thank you for doing whatever weird thing happened to your voice. That was quite first time breaking news. I think that could be a breaking news on EGI, twitch.tv/EGI_2. But we do have to move on. We're going to give this game, you guess now, one last chance. Caller, you're on the air with EGI2. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And what you guess now? What would you guess now?
Hi, Robbie. This is Joe again.
Joe, it's too damn late for you, son.
I know, but I stayed up because I knew Screenshot You Guess Now was coming, and I really wanted to get on this leaderboard, and I think I know what this is. I closed the chat as soon as the screenshot came
Joe
up.
Botnick, if there's one person in this world, if there's one person in this whole damn business that I think that might get this one, it's you.
I think, Robbie, that this is a screenshot of Resident Evil Village.
Wait, guess cam. Wait, where's Allan?
I'm here. I'm
Get in the
doing
thing.
I'm
Show
getting
us,
money.
show us how shocked you are.
Oh, okay.
We gotta get the money shot. Ready?
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Joe Botnick, you are on the board.
Yes. Thank you so
Joe
much.
Botnick, and I just want to say one thing. I said flippantly. It was not. I said almost flippantly that Joe was one of the few people I felt like could get this one, and that was not in fact flippant. That was a accurate statement, because Joe was such a help when making some decision makings had to occur when I was playing through Resident Evil 8 on the stream last week. So thank you, Joe, and congratulations. You're on the board. I hope it's worth it. We don't have any figured out how to do any prizes or anything like that.
It's an honor just to be nominated.
Exactly. Getting on the board is prize enough for me, personally.
What's the thing we're gonna say? I think we should say, you guess right, you guess now.
I guess right, I guess now.
Thank you, Joe. Go to sleep.
Thank you, Robbie.
Joe,
Back to you.
I want to say one thing to Joe.
Yeah,
I
Allan,
think
yeah.
you're a wonderful person. I think you're great. I think you deserve all good things that happen to you. But now that you are on the leaderboard, you are my competition. You are my enemy, and I will stop at nothing to. I will do anything to destroy you.
This is great power. Great power. The story about power corrupts, and great power corrupts greatly, is what the saying is. Joe Bot.
I think Allan is a great guy too, but I will rise to the challenge, and we will do battle.
So we're obviously, if you can see the leaderboard one more time, we've got 3 people to add to the leaderboard and a number to change. So if we can just, hey, don't you sons of daughters. There we go. So first place is now, if you can imagine, just close your eyes, just look at this as hard as you can for a good 30 seconds, and then close your eyes so you can see it in your mind's eye, and then imagine the 1 next to Allan's name turning into a 2, and then 3 other people getting added to the, because I don't know how to add things. I looked at like a tier, animated tier thing that people use for some of these damn things. And it's just ugly as can be. It's just the ugliest damn thing I'd ever looked at. So I don't want to use that. I'm going to do it myself so I can keep the aesthetics of EGI2, the very well thought out and well placed aesthetics of EGI2
that people
consistent.
love. People have come to love the look of the show.
EGI2 has a visual language that I think it's important to preserve.
And thank you so much for that, Joe. And as someone who's preserved one of the oldest languages on the planet, as a patriot of the United Kingdom, then that is meaningful.
You're welcome. And back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Joe. Back to you, Allan. And we do have, I think we have one more screenshot to you guess now. And this is a tough one. So I'm hoping that the person that calls in knows their business, because if they don't know their business, then I'm gonna go crazy.
real quick, Robbie, would you mind adjusting your mic a little bit? It seems like it's maybe a little scratchy or something.
Oh, it's a little scratchy.
Yeah, we're getting some.
Oh, it might be
word in the
it could be
chat.
also that my voice is getting a little hoarse since we are nearing the end of the show.
That might be it. I'm not sure. There was some peaking earlier, but
All right.
we're
Maybe
working on it.
Talking to this microphone, maybe?
I
Maybe.
think you
looks
just.
like we got a caller coming in.
Yeah, we got a caller. I think we're probably just gonna stick with. They say the gain is too high.
Gain is too high.
Unfortunately, we're not good at this.
Call it Cthulhu Scratch.
It's like it's modulating.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I know.
Oh, Allan's on it.
Give me your mic.
We have a caller.
Caller, you're on. Sometimes when you talk for 2.5 hours straight, you get a little gassy in the throat. But caller, you're on the screenshot. You guess now. You guess now.
I'm lagging. I can't see the shot right
It's
now.
okay. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
This is Adam from Chicago.
Adam from Chicago, the great state of Chicago.
How does Robbie sound? Sound off in the chat if Robbie sounds okay.
Does this sound all right? Puppy Mouth seems to think it's hoarse voice. It's not hoarse voice. Adam, are you ready to play screenshot? You guess now.
I'm ready to play.
So here it is. Sounds crazy. Looks crazy, I know, but it is a game. This is a screenshot that I took myself, and now it's up to you to guess now.
I see a guy with maybe pachydermis skin.
Pachyderm, a great dermis type of situation. It seems like we're looking at Adam from Chicago.
He's got a big one. I see an arrow poking out of him. He seems to be on a dirt road. The graphics to me are saying maybe PS3 era. I'm gonna go with Dragon's Dog.
I don't know when to make.
You don't get an extra point, but do you care to extend the answer with the words that come after?
Dark Arisen.
There you go. It's Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, and it is a PlayStation. You're right. It did come out on the PlayStation 3, but it is in fact a Switch game as well, and that's where I took the screenshot. Screenshot. You guessed right.
Hey, we love it.
So Adam from Chicago, you're going to be on the board next week. So how does that feel? How's that feeling for you?
That feels great. I'm so glad to have 1 point.
1 point. So we're now up to we got to add 4 people, Allan. 4 people to the leaderboards. How does that feel?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. He says he's absolutely insane with rage. You see the jealousy in his eyes. You see the daggers coming out. It turns out that the willingness to become a vigilante, to do the things that the police and the courts won't do, to take out the people that he believes need to be taken out. He's judge, jury, and executioner in one, but he's also a rampaging and cutthroat competitor.
Being number 1 on the board a crime?
Is what?
Is being number 1 on the board a crime?
No, it's not. It's a game. And crime doesn't pay.
No, don't do crime, you guys.
Allan?
I've been saying that for months now. Do not do crime. I don't appreciate crime. And I just want to point out something to you, Robbie.
Right.
It's catching on.
Oh.
I want to show you a news report that I read. This is a news report. I can't read all the words in it. It's a real news report. Check this out. What I've been doing fighting crime, it's catching on in the streets because this man says time to make crime illegal again, which is what I've been saying the whole time. And that is my catchphrase when I go out crime fighting. I will say it's time to make crime illegal again, and then I will put down the criminal right after I say it. I'll say time to make crime illegal again. I'll say it in this sort of cool way. Time to make crime illegal again, and then bam, I get them. And I guess the message is spreading far and wide. It's catching on like a wildfire, and people all over are saying, "You're out. There's something to this. It is time to make crime illegal again."
Adam from Chicago, what are your thoughts?
I don't know if what Allan does is legal, but I think it should be.
Well, what I can only say is that there's the world that we live in, Adam, and that is the world of I would say the civilized world, the society, the place of laws and rules, the contract between people that we sign. That we sign on our own time with one another in the privacy of our own homes. But there's another world, Adam, and that world is a world of darkness and dirt and slime leaking from bricks. And that's the world that Allan Resnick seems to reside in when he goes on his night wanderings, on his walkabouts.
And a note, I will say, I don't know if what I do is legal, but it better be. Because if it's not, if it's not legal, if what I'm doing is illegal, I will kill myself.
And if we say that if Allan were not to be here, then who would be the winner of the screenshot you guys now? Whenever it ends, presumably.
When does it end? When does it end?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I don't. It's very exhausting to make the graphics for this.
What if it goes to 5 points or 10 points?
It's not enough. Oh, thank you for your call, Adam from Chicago. We have to move along with our next segment, which is, I think, a lot of people are excited because we didn't get around to doing it last week, and that's It's the Arts. Oh,
what's that?
That's the Arts.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. It's the Arts.
It's the Arts.
So this is a compilation of arts from previous weeks previous and from last week and a little bit of this week. It's a great selection of pieces, Allan. I think that you're really going to enjoy it.
I am excited.
As long as you can get your head out of the mindset and the hell that you're in.
I feel like watching EGI_2 is a sort of a healing balm for me and the anger I feel and the rage I feel, because as soon as I get into this studio, it is a studio. I'm not really where it says. I hear the soothing tones of Robbie's voice. I calm. My body calms. A redness recedes in my head, and a sort of glandular issue, which we call the gush, sort of. It dries, and I become dry from hearing it. So, and the arts are part of that. Art therapy, like your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend Beth, was an art therapist.
Oh, she still is.
And the arts, It's the Arts on EGI2 is art therapy. I'm not making the art, of course. I'm just looking at it has healing properties.
Looking at the art in
it rejuvenates me to go back out onto the streets and kill.
What we hope is that it actually holds back the flood of the practically ectoplasmic explosion that we expect from you, should the gush ever be released onto the world.
Yes, it is holding me back temporarily, just long enough, and I'm getting my energy back so that I can go back out.
First up on It's the Arts is a beautiful piece from Kylie. Thank you so much, Kylie.
That's Robbie.
It's a drawing of me, obviously in the middle of spinning the yarns that we do spin whenever there is a hype train. We did have quite an interesting hype train this earlier in the show. If you're just joining us, regarding a boy who became mostly legs and then fell down a long flight of stairs and then got a bunch of women who had broken legs pregnant.
And we only heard the first part of the story. It was a two-part story. The boy lived twice, but we only got to hear the first part, even though it was a remarkably successful hype train. But now we've initiated this gun that shoots money at Robbie. Thank you to James Trevor for creating this gun.
Thank you, James Trevor, for creating the gun. It works great. It doesn't have that much money in it, so whenever the money shoots out, we have to quickly gather it back up and put it back into the gun.
It's a blessing,
but it's not a violent thing.
We're going to work on it.
It's a very positive experience for us all, and it's in the way that seeing It's the Arts is a positive experience for us as well. So next up is from Garrett from Sydney, and Allan, I think that you should take a look at this one because Garrett has really come up with
look at that.
Quite an incredible. I don't know if you would what you would want to call this. I think this is it's not a diptych, but I felt like we needed to have two side by side.
Look at that!
My God,
that's me.
That's you, and that's you in the arms of one of the
Wow.
I can't say the last name properly, but it's vaguely Romanian
Robbie, do we have a printer?
sounding name.
Is there a printer in the studio?
There's no printer in the studio, but there is a gun that shoots money, a limited amount of money that we then have to refill as quickly as possible in case it goes off again. So thank you so much for Garrett from. I don't know if it's Gareth or Garrett, but I've seen this spelling pronounced both ways.
It is quite beautiful.
And I see Allan in a great deal of enjoyment. Wow. And when I see that, I can imagine that this is the kind of business that the tiny little bitty Allan that could have come out of me might get into once I'm asleep and the little bitty Allan enters into the magical kind of fairy tale hidden world that we all know exists underneath tree stumps and roots.
Thank you, Gareth, because this image you've made is a remarkable gift you've given me, and I'm gonna look at this I'm gonna look at this image tonight, and it'll be a gift that you give me that I give myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett,
and thank you, Vertical Mammal, for making the gun go off.
Thank you so much for the generosity. We've got to just reload the money gun quickly and look at the next piece, which is from Nskrilla.
Wait, look at that. Is that me?
Nskrilla has gifted us a wonderful image of myself and Allan's self with God's. This is obviously a Photoshop of the roof of the Sistine Chapel there up in that classic city, Vatican City.
No.
And
wait, what's on the face?
Well, the face is the frame grind disc. So in this telling of the story, Allan is just an angel, which we all know that he isn't. That he is in fact a deeply troubled man with perhaps the heart of a devil. But unfortunately, fortunately for us, the god is the Godhead is in fact the disc for a Dreamcast game that only came out in Japan.
I'm not an angel. I'm not the devil. I'm an angel that's the bad angel.
He's a fallen angel.
I'm a fallen angel.
He's a fallen angel.
And I lost my wings, and I take it out on others.
He's made a deal with violence.
I'm the devil's advocate.
Next up on It's the Arts is a wonderful picture from Puppy Mouth.
Wow, thank you, Puppy Mouth.
And this is, of course, another representation of one of the great stories that we have been able to tell as a result of generosity here on twitch.tv/EGI_2. Ghost lady with a weird hand that I think killed the parents. I can't remember if that was the moral of that story, but I think that the moral of the story was to, if you're gonna get into each other's, if mothers and fathers have to invest in giving each other gifts, that you do it in with a great deal of privacy and make sure that little ones, especially if they're ghosts, can't wander in and see what you're doing.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. Look at that hair.
Next up is this is another example of what could happen if people are careless with their little ghosts that are wandering around their house.
That's quite striking and scary.
So Puppy Mouth is obviously a very talented artist, a very generous person with their time to listen to the stories and to create visualizations of the events that transpired so long ago, Allan, and yet we still learn from these stories.
Thank you, Puppy Mouth, and thank you for everyone who's given art or made the gun go off. And it is annoying when the gun goes off because it's hard to pick up all the little bills. We need to recalibrate the gun. But I do like that it is a gun, I was thinking that maybe I could commission a real gun from James could make me an extra gun that has sort of my signature gun. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, in those sort of video games where you have your own guns and you upgrade your guns and you kind of craft your guns, it kind of looks like James has crafted a gun in sort of a Half-Life, or not a Half-Life.
So if we could
I thought it kind of reminded me a bit of the Shinzo Abe gun a little bit, just in look. But I guess we won't mention that. Robbie doesn't appreciate it.
I'm going to commission a gun like that. Thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem.
And I like the little Arduino that lights up. I think that would have been interesting.
Well, if we could get this, if perhaps we could get this gun to the Duke, then we would have a real conversation with that fantastically interesting man.
The Duke?
From Resident Evil 8: The Village.
Oh, okay.
Next up on It's the Arts, thank you. Oh, it's Puppy Mouth again. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Puppy Mouth had, again, had created this wonderful triptych of images to go with the story. A horrifying story.
Quite scary.
And it's always so interesting to see that people's reaction to the story come to life, because oftentimes when I'm telling the story as I remember it, it's as a simple morality play. And in fact, to the audience, what they are seeing in their mind's eye when they are imagining what I'm saying to them is actually quite terrifying. Allan.
Yes,
James.
absolutely. And to see it made real in art, and to see it made real from your mouth to puppy mouth, from your mouth to puppy mouth, to I assume some sort of an iPad app, maybe a Procreate, or some sort of a drawing app on a tablet, or maybe on a PC. But it is made striking, scary, and real and beautiful.
I'm pretty sure that's hand drawn, Allan. I'm pretty sure that's just watercolor and just good old fashioned letterhead.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
And that was a joke.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh.
Great joke. Puppy Mouth and Kimball Anderson
Kimball.
is showing up again with Kimball with the kind of storytelling that only Kimball Anderson can do, which is a beautiful rendition of the story of Ethan Hunt as he attempts the impossible mission of returning safely from the village of Resident Evil 8, the village, with his family still intact. So you can imagine Kimball Anderson's. This is just such a great summation of everything that you see when you go through Resident Evil 8: The Village. I believe we have. There's still a bit more, right? There we go. And as Ethan Hunt, as he goes through his story in the same way that Ethan Hunt goes through his story of Resident Evil 8: The Village, then Kimball Anderson describes the I would say the disintegration of that being, of that person as the events as the story tears and rips him from comfort to discomfort and then back to terror.
And he does his own stunts.
Which is great. And it's just a remarkable gift to have Kimball Anderson's art showcasing here on twitch.tv/EGI_2.
Wow. I love that.
Next up, it's Cat from Ithaca with a very interesting. I think this is. I don't think that this is It's the Arts. I think that this is It's the Cats.
Oh.
So it's people sending in pictures of their cats, either lounging around, watching EGI2, watching us describe. I think that is again. That looks like the Democratic Alliance leader in South Africa's mug. He's talking about the cats.
Oh.
No, he's not talking about the cats. He's talking about some sort of. I think that's the code for Clockwork Knight 2.
3, 4, 5 cats. That's incredible.
Well, I'm pretty sure that there's four. Those are the same. There's 2 cats, and another picture of the same 2 cats, and then one of the 2 cats is that's just a montage of cats.
It's the cats.
It's the cats.
Wow.
Can we see the It's the Cats button again? It's the cats.
It's the
cat.
Cats.
There they are. There they are.
It's awesome.
And next up, thank you for that, Cat from Ithaca. If anybody wants to send in cats, maybe we'll just have a section called "It's the Cats" now.
Yes, I would love to see all the cats.
I think that would be a great way to keep the conversations fruitful, enjoyable, and perhaps also figure out ways to calm down Allan's devil heart
I think
as it ruptures and
the software of a
seeps.
cat would calm me down. The purring of the cat. I like when the cat kind of scratch, flip flop on my chest, make me calm and wake up with the paws on my eyes, scared, and that scares me.
I had a cat once in college that would walk around in its own dookie, and it would then it would walk around in its wet dookie and then put its paws in my face to wake me up. But send us pictures of your cats, because obviously people have them.
And Lord knows I like to see them. I love to see cats.
Next up, it's Groucho Trout with a late entry here.
Wow.
For the this is again a beautiful drawing, just a kind of almost like a polygonal looking
it's haunting.
thing. It reminds me of these old. If you ever remember Wizard magazine, Allan, you remember remember Wizard magazine?
I'm gonna say I do.
Bart Sears, the great artist who drew covers for Exo Man of War and also several issues of the original Turok comic series. Not the original one, because that was Turok Son of Stone, and that was for Key Comics. But Valiant Comics hired Bart Sears, none other than Bart Sears, to do Turok Dinosaur Hunter. 5 or 6 issues, I believe. And then he also, on the side, did a How to Draw Comics with Bart Sears that was inside Wizard magazine. And that's when I look at this, I think of that. It was
beautiful.
I can think about imagining myself just getting up and walking around and
Who's
perhaps
in the hat?
that I think that's probably Groucho Trout. That's who?
It's
Anna
Anna?
Fabrega?
Or no,
Sarah
Anna's
Gina.
Sarah Gina, yeah, because of the Beau Travail hat.
Oh yeah, there's too
Yeah.
many Annas.
Yeah.
I think we should change some of the Anna's names to
Anya.
Anya,
like a kind of a Russian flavor.
Anya.
Although we should probably clear that with Anna.
Who?
Sarah Gina.
Anya.
Oh dear. Next up on It's the Arts, Groucho Trout, thank you for this beautiful drawing.
Thank you,
and
Trevor.
I think this is our first one from Groucho Trout. So looking forward if you ever feel like sending more of these and trying to calm Allan down to keep him from going out and making a big mess of the society of breaking down breaking the fourth wall of society in a way. You know, like in a movie when a character looks at the camera and says it's a movie. That's what Allan is, except he's got a gun and he's coming for the people that cause buses to be late.
Yes, and I say it's time to make crime illegal again. But it's similar. I am breaking a sort of fourth wall, the fourth wall of the frontal lobe of the skull.
And thank you for that, Allan. And I really appreciate that you've been able to keep your horrible anger in check for as long as you have.
Yes, well, I was very excited to meet James's mom, and I didn't want to gush.
Next up, we have a wonderful, speaking of gush, we have a wonderful video from, you guessed it, Ryan from Rhode Island.
Yay.
Take it away, Ryan.
An inky sky twitches with electricity as lightning licks the moon's face. She's crying for the gush. I ignore her cry as I suffocate my sorrows. One sip, one sin at a time. Another dark and stormy, I snarl. The waitress runs over with my drink. Time freezes. My heart smiles. She was a 6-foot-tall angelic being with long, flowing golden brown hair, bringing me a cup of heaven. I couldn't even bear to look up at her. I just mumbled thanks. My favorite watering hole, Dante's Inn. I only use the money I rip from the pockets of dead men to get my buzz. I grit my teeth as the people at the bar talk politics. They sound like ducks quacking. Quack, quack, quack. Red or blue, what's the difference? It's all one big gray blur in the gutters. The only difference between me and them, they hate half the government. I hate the whole damn thing. As the quacking gets louder, I dig my thumb further and further into the cut in my hand. Then I smash my fist upon the bar top. The entire place comes to a freeze. The waitress gasps. I guess I overstayed my welcome. Ha ha ha. I grab my coat, shuffle over to the jukebox, and then press A11. Poor boy, Nick Drake. I leave a trail of blood from the jukebox to the door. I guess it's time for me to leave. As I leave the bar, I see a Kia boy trying to break into the waitress's Hyundai. Not on my watch. I pull out my blade. The jury is in, and I take each one of his fingers. Try hot wiring with those. Well, I guess the mayor will have to wait. He's a wasp. Pretend to be an Italian. We'll call me the bug swatter. He's next on my list. But for tonight, the sounds of the sniveling of the Kia boy will lull me to sleep. The hush of the gush.
A lot to unpack. In that one, Allan.
I think that was incredible. I think Ryan has really captured a sort of physicality of the gush somehow, even though I don't think I've ever been caught on film. I would never take a sidekick ever. I do work solo, I work alone, but I am impressed, I will say. One small note, this rendition, this character you're doing says you hate the whole government. And me gush, Allan gush, when I gush, it's not, I don't hate the government as much as I wish the government was bigger. I wish every person in the citizenry was actually a member of the government. I wish the government was everybody, so that crime wouldn't exist. If the government grew so large that it incorporated all the citizenry and everyone was aligned with the government correctly, then no crime could exist. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense, Allan. And when I look at this video, I think of the great classic Sega Saturn game, Die Hard Arcade. The Dynamite Cop Die Hard Arcade is one of my favorite beat 'em ups of that era. And I gotta say that when I look at Ryan flailing around like that in his living room, crashing into various bits of furniture, I think of well, shiver me timbers. I guess the Dynamite Cop must have had a kid. And that kid became Ryan from Rhode Island. Some wild, flailing. He is. You know what you're saying to me about the sidekick thing. You know, I'd like to say something that I don't say out loud, although sometimes I do think it, and that's a game recognized game. So that was that's EGI2 twitch.tv/EGI_2's stream 18. Everybody, I hope you had a wonderful night. I hope you stay safe. Don't do any crimes, because if you do, there's at least 2 crime fighters with devil hearts and murder in their eyes that are gunning for you. Next up, if we could just get a raid suggestion going, and then that will be our show. I regret to inform you that we actually are going to be taking a break next week because I have a scheduling conflict, but we will be back at least on the 15th with EGI2 Stream 19, and hopefully we will have put more bills than in the gun, and that the gun will no longer need to be frantically reloaded. Allan,
I love that. I love the gun.
It looks like people are suggesting piss. So sorry about the naughty language, but piss gets the raid. Good night, everybody. Game recognized game.